Chapter 1788. Not long after, about 4 hours had passed. She had been maintaining her excited spirit and had led Yiqing Luo to wander around blindly, so her energy was severely depleted. The auction was about to start. Yiqing Luo supported Shi and based on the number on the invitation card, they found their location. Shi Lan's invitation card was for the VIP cabin on the second floor. For people to a cabin. Yiqing Luo entered their cabin under the guidance of the attendant. The private room faced the stage of the auction. A few strands of white gauze covered the view of their private room. There was a square mahogany table with exquisite desserts, delicious fruits and fragrant green tea on it. 4 chairs under the veil stood side by side. Seeing that his miss had followed them into the private room, the page boy quickly brought a chair over. She was so tired that she laid down on the chair to rest. Yiqing Luo walked to the front of the white veil and lifted it. Behind the veil was a horizontal railing that reached her waist. Looking over, one could see the entire auction hall. Even those guests in the opposite cabin who lifted the veil could see it. Yiqing Luo took a look at Shi who had fallen asleep on the chair and smiled helplessly. It was only the second time they met and she was so assured of them. One must know Shi was the miss of the Shi family. If she was some evil person to kidnap Shi, then she could threaten the Shi family, threaten the treasure-gathering pavilion. Lil Luo, how much longer do you want to watch? Behind her, a sour voice was heard. Before Yiqing Luo could turn back, a scorching feeling covered her back. The man's boiling hot chest was pressed against her back. Her body was brought into Dmo Xian's arms. The both of them fell onto a chair not too far away from Shi. Yiqing Luo stretched out her hands in shock and hugged his neck tightly. Ah Xian. The words had just left her mouth when the man's scorching breath covered the sky and earth. Before she could finish her words, it was forcefully swallowed back into his stomach. His kiss was extremely forceful. It was overbearing, an irresistible force. The sweet and scorching breath intertwined between their lips. Yiqing Luo's body kept quivering under his kiss and his large palms which couldn't be restrained. Her face was already dyed crimson. Her slightly opened and closed eyes were filled with a misty and seductive luster. Why did he suddenly turn blue? And he was kissing her so hard. The kiss was so green. Little she was still asleep. If she woke up and saw them like this, wouldn't they be teaching the wrong things? Thinking of this, Yiqing Luo's consciousness awoke from the dizziness of Dmo Xian's kiss. She immediately tried to struggle. But just as he moved, all of a sudden he put more force into his lips. He fiercely sucked on her little tongue. Chapter 1789. When Dmo Xian's fingers slid into her fair skin, Yiqing Luo completely went berserk. At this moment, how could she still have any romantic thoughts? She raised her fist and smashed it hard on Dmo Xian's head. Her whole body turned soft. This punch was slow and powerless. Dmo Xian easily grasped her fist. His fingers penetrated into the gaps between her fingers and intertwined with hers. However, Dmo Xian stopped the action of igniting the fire on her body. Ah Xian, you also need to look at the occasion. Yiqing Luo blushed and stared at Dmo Xian resentfully. Dmo Xian stared straight into her eyes. His peach blossom eyes carried a pool of spring water. His charm was extremely seductive. Yiqing Luo's little heart was easily teased to the point of thumping madly. She suppressed her wildly beating heart and struggled to get out of his arms. Ah Xian, calm down. She hadn't finished her words. Her body suddenly leaned forward. She was embraced by Dmo Xian. His arms tightly wrapped around her waist. The man pillowed on her shoulder and his low husky voice revealed his suppressed emotions. Little Luo, I am jealous. Jealous? Yiqing Luo's eyes widened. In my eyes, Shi you is just a brat, not him. Dmo Xian raised his head, his enchanting peach blossom eyes fixed on Yiqing Luo. In his eyes, there were some indistinct grievances. Yiqing Luo felt a chill down her spine. Her little hands supported his chest and pulled apart the distance between them. I'm not flirting. Her sincerity towards her Ah Xian was witnessed by heaven and earth. How could she make Ah Xian jealous? And make him feel aggrieved? This style, it was totally different from her Ah Xian. I don't like your sight on other people, even women. After Dmo Xian finished this sentence, he seemed to be aware of his embarrassment and tightened his arms, hugging Yiqing Luo tightly. Yiqing Luo's widened eyes slowly contracted. A pair of charming eyes were stained with a sweet smile. So, Ah Xian was jealous of little Shi. However, that was indeed the case. Ever since she met Xiao Shi, she had been pestered by Xiao Shi and had no chance to speak to Diamo Xian. It was her. Diamo Xian dared to give her the cold shoulder because of his own friend. She had long flown into a rage and asked Diamo Xian to live with his friend. But he had always endured it. He followed behind her silently. It was only when Ruashi fell asleep from exhaustion that he vented his dissatisfaction in this way. This man, she was really too cute. Yiqing Luo rubbed her head against his chest. It's my fault, I didn't consider your feelings, there won't be a next time. Her obedient attitude of admitting her mistake pleased Diamo Xian. Diamo Xian lowered his head and kissed her hard on her lips. His slender fingers held her chin. If there's a next time, I will use my own methods to make it impossible for you to take your eyes off me. His smile was incomparably devilish and seductive. His shimmering peach blossom eyes were overflowing with the warmth of spring. Yiqing Luo's heart tightened. Behind his smile, why did it make her feel? He felt a chill run down his spine. Her waist was inexplicably sore. Her legs were inexplicably weak. What kind of omen was this? Yiqing Luo's long curly eyelashes fluttered as her cheeks suddenly turned crimson red. You're flirting with me again. Suddenly she understood what Diamo Xian meant. Chapter 1790. Diamo Xian raised his brows domineeringly. I'm flirting with my woman, there's nothing wrong with that. Alright, there's nothing wrong with that. But, Xian was gradually developing into a domineering CO. What was going on? Or was it that in every man's heart, there was a domineering CO? He was domineering to her, he was strong to her. He was able to make her blush. Was she unable to resist flirting? Looking at the lovely person in his arms, her face was blushing and her eyes were misty. No matter how one looked at her, her eyes were seductive. Diamo Xian's blood was surging. This look made Diamo Xian's blood boil even more. His arms tightened as he pressed the soft and delicate girl in his arms into his embrace. Yiqing Luo was half lying in Diamo Xian's arms. Feeling the scalding sensation on her stomach, how could she not know what it was? She was already dead. She blushed immediately and struggled to push Diamo Xian. Don't mess around. The auction is about to start. She struggled and rubbed against the man. This only made Diamo Xian's eyes darken. Yiqing Luo looked into that pair of peach blossom eyes which were full of affection. She only felt that if eyes could be used to do it, she would probably be done 7 or 8 times by Diamo Xian's eyes. That strong desire, Yiqing Luo could see it clearly. She was getting more and more flustered. Xian, calm down, I don't want to put on an erotic show with you here. Yiqing Luo's little heart trembled. Little she is still on the side. This man was a little too jealous, wasn't he? This private room was only covered by a white veil. When the wind blew, the veil fluttered. If Diamo Xian was really here, he would definitely take her. She would really collapse. She won't wake up. Diamo Xian's hoarse voice rang in her ears. The man's heavy breathing sprayed into her ears. Extremely heavy. The elegant sandalwood fragrance revealed an aura that made one blush. Yiqing Luo's delicate body was also trembling from the heat, slightly warm. Hearing the man's firm words, Yiqing Luo suddenly understood something. She fell asleep. It's you who did it? The man raised his eyebrows in disbelief. This man had made up his mind to take the opportunity to teach her a lesson. At this moment, a deep voice suddenly came from the auction hall. Immediately, the noisy hall quietened down. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and stared at Diamo Xian, as her fist pounded on his chest. The auction is about to start, stop fooling around. Saying that, she had already stood up from Diamo Xian's arms. This time Diamo Xian did not stop her. The man's hand on her waist slid down. The elegant scent of sandalwood disappeared. The man's unique warmth also gradually dissipated. Yiqing Luo's heart actually felt a little empty. Her heart skipped a beat and she clenched her fists. She would not feel empty, lonely, or cold. She was not the kind of woman who could not live without a man. She must not let Diamo Xian lead her astray. Shaking off the distracting thoughts in her mind, Yiqing Luo walked briskly to the side of the veil and lifted it. She saw the tall stage in the middle of the auction hall, and the white-browed old man who was beside Ruayu earlier stood there, explaining the rules of the auction. The hall, which could accommodate more than 20,000 people, was actually filled with people. Looking at the private rooms in front, it was also full. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but sigh silently. It was indeed the #1 auction house in the southern continent. It indeed lived up to its reputation. She watched the bustling scene in high spirits. Chapter 1791. Ah Xian, look, Prime Minister's son? Yiqing Luo pointed to a private room on the opposite right as a meaningful smile surfaced in her eyes. But before she could finish her sentence, her body felt light and she was once again tightly embraced in Diamo Xian's embrace. Diamo Xian snorted lightly. What are you looking at him for? He's just an old man, what's there to look at? Yiqing Luo laughed into a ball in his arms. Don't tell me you're jealous of him too? Diamo Xian's answer was very straightforward, as though it was a matter of course. Yiqing Luo's body leaned into his embrace. She could clearly feel the man's rising temperature. There was also a certain place that didn't show any signs of stopping. Her eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. Her long and narrow eyes flashed with a bewitching radiance. She leaned closer to Diamo Xian. Her fragrant breath gently blew into Diamo Xian's ear. She could feel the man's body gradually stiffening. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but burst out laughing as she hooked her arm around his neck, giving a charming smile. Little Xian, bear with it first and get through the auction. After we return you can do whatever you want. Diamo Xian's body tensed up even more. The veins on his forehead were bulging. Heavy breaths fell on Yiqing Luo's ears. It made Yiqing Luo giggle continuously. This lass was simply like a demon. Diamo Xian's eyes were scarlet red as he stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. That gaze seemed as though it wanted to strip Yiqing Luo clean. The old man in the auction hall had reached the end of his speech. Diamo Xian's body tensed up as he hugged Yiqing Luo tightly and used her petite body to fiercely press against a certain part of him. Yiqing Luo's alluring face flushed red, but she didn't struggle any further. Diamo Xian leaned close to her ear. His voice was husky and exceptionally alluring. All right. One word and Yiqing Luo's ears were about to get pregnant. Yiqing Luo stared at him as she pushed his hand away. I'm not going to mess around with you anymore. The auction has already started. Hasn't Jinzi found Xiao Yi yet? Jinzi and Xiao Yi both had invitations. The name of their private room was printed on the invitation. He should have been able to find them. It had been so long, but they still hadn't come to the private room. Thinking of that man who was smiling warmly like jade, Yiqing Luo's heart surged with an ominous premonition. There's Jinzi here, no need to worry. Diamo Xian's expression resumed his usual devilish splendor. He walked to the side of the veil and scanned the crowd below. Jinzi has feelings for Xiao Yi. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she glanced sideways at him. Jinzi's ability, isn't it only at Earth Profound 7th grade? I can barely protect myself, but protecting Xiao Yi is a little difficult. Diamo Xian looked ahead. The expression on his face was rather complicated. After a while, he sighed softly. He is not as simple as he seems, but I can be sure that Xiao Jin will not harm any of you. Jinzi wasn't as simple as she thought? Indeed, she had always felt this way. He just didn't want to speculate too much about his brother. Everyone had their own secrets. A secret that he did not wish to be explored by others. However, you know Jinzi's identity? Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she felt curious. Diamo Xian only smiled. Seeing that he didn't intend to say, Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered to ask any further. Since Diamo Xian had already said that Xiao Jin could protect Yan Xiao Yi, she believed in Diamo Xian's words. At this moment, the auction stage started to stir up the atmosphere in heat. Chapter 1792. It was a Supreme Being grade armor. It was rumored to be used by Sky Mystic Supremes. Wearing it, unless it was a Supreme grade weapon or above, it would absolutely not be able to damage the armor at all. The first auction item was a Supreme grade. Everyone instantly felt their blood boiling as they started to look forward to the 10 auction items in the baptism auction. This kind of life-saving armor had aroused the enthusiasm of many cultivators. After more than 10 rounds of bidding, it was finally won by a family with 100,000 gold coins. Following that, there were some 5th grade medicinal pills, Supreme grade weapons. There were also some strange jades. The further it went, the more precious the auction items were. The excitement in the entire auction hall was stirred up by wave after wave. However, Yiqing Luo was drowsy looking at it. She had no interest in these things at all. In terms of medicinal pills, even if she couldn't refine them, she still had her ancestor-level master, Ghost Doctor. What medicinal pills could she not have? Weapons? Jewelry? She could casually pull out one from the Profound Phoenix ring and it would totally beat those auction items. Young Mirage Beasts? Her battle pets were either holy beasts or battle-type Mirage Beasts. Looking at the 20,000 over people in the hall, their cheers were earth-shattering and the excitement was surging. Yiqing Luo started to wonder. Could this group of people be hired by the treasure-gathering pavilion? Were these things worth their excitement? Also spent a lot of money to smash. If she knew it was so profitable, she would have taken out all the things in the profound phoenix ring to exchange for money. If everyone present knew what Yiqing Luo was thinking, they would probably be gnashing their teeth and scolding Yiqing Luo for being perverted. Did you think everyone was as perverted as you? Did you think everyone was as lucky as you? You could pick up divine weapons, holy beasts and experts just by walking on the road. Don't you dare to cheat too much. You still have the cheek to complain about our excitement? Time passed by minute and second. By the time it was the 7th auction item, another 4 hours had passed. Yiqing Luo stretched her waist as she turned her head to look at the drowsy Shiruashi. His gaze paused on the 2 empty chairs for a moment. Jinzi still hasn't returned. Did something really happen? Diamo Xian wrapped his arm around her waist and nodded his head absent-mindedly, and Yiqing Luo suddenly pushed his hand away and stood up. Did something really happen? Diamo Xian squinted his bewitching peach blossom eyes as he propped his chin on one hand and leaned lazily against the chair. Something's happened. Diamo Xian would never crack such a joke. But his attitude, why was he so nonchalant as if he didn't care? This also meant that Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi should be fine. But knowing that something had happened to them, even if she knew that they were fine, Yiqing Luo still couldn't help but worry. Where are they? Yiqing Luo somehow felt that she was always in control of Diamo Xian's hands. Diamo Xian reached out and grabbed her arm. Yiqing Luo's body lost its balance and fell into his arms. The man chuckled beside her ear. Lil Luo, do you really think of me as an omniscient deity? At this moment, I'm not in the mood to joke with you. Yiqing Luo was burning with anxiety as she stared at him. Diamo Xian gently caressed her hair. I indeed don't know where they are, but someone does. Diamo Xian's thin lips curled upwards as his gaze turned towards a certain direction. Yiqing Luo followed his gaze and looked over. Chapter 1793. At the opposite right corner of their private room, under the floating veil, Yiqing Luo could vaguely see the person seated inside. Brown embroidered gold robe, clouds of auspicious clouds, golden edges rolling. His figure was tall and straight, his gentle jade-like face bore a gentle smile, quietly watching the auction below. Shishang Lan. Yiqing Luo subconsciously grabbed Diamo Xian's sleeve tightly. Did he make a move on Jinzi and Xiaoyi? Shishang Lan was actually in the right corner of their private room. From the angle of her private room she really couldn't see clearly. And with the veil covering, it was impossible to notice that private room. If it wasn't for Diamo Xian's detection, she probably wouldn't be able to sense who was in that private room till the end of the auction. But, from that angle Shishang Lan could totally see their entire private room. These 4 invitations were prepared by Shishang Lan for them. The private room's location was also decided by Shishang Lan. Was he trying to spy on them? His target is you. Diamo Xian's meaning was that Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin were currently safe. Yiqing Luo raised her head. Since he wants to deal with me, why? Especially let Xiaoyi come here? You're like a loach. He shed all pretenses to capture you, but if you run away, wouldn't there be no more chances in future? Diamo Xian patted her shoulder lightly. Warm embrace, warm breath, elegant sandalwood fragrance. All of these gave Yiqing Luo a sense of security. His identity is Xiaoyi's fiancé. Using Xiaoyi's name, he invited you to treasure-gathering chambers so that it wouldn't arouse your suspicions and the other brother's suspicions. Moreover, with Xiaoyi in his hands, even if they shed all pretenses, he's not afraid that you will run away. Diamo Xian's voice calmly analyzed Shishang Lan's motive. When does he intend to make a move on me? Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased. Moreover, he knows that I have you by my side, so he shouldn't dare to act rashly. So, without absolute confidence, he wouldn't dare to make a move easily. Diamo Xian leaned close to her ear. Today you must not leave my side. Yiqing Luo felt her skin itching as she shrank back and hung her head down as she grumbled. I know, I will definitely hug your thick thighs tightly. Don't just talk about it. If you leave me on your own accord when we return. Diamo Xian's voice lowered again. I will punish you. You won't be able to get off the bed. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled, her little head leaned on his chest, shaking and swaying. You beast! I won't give you that chance. She absolutely believed it. This man would do what he said. In the opposite corner of the private room, Shishang Lan held a cup of tea and took a sip. His gentle gaze fell onto Yiqing Luo's private room. The white veil fluttered. A man and a woman hugged each other tightly and seemed to be whispering something. After that, the girl shyly stepped into the man's embrace, as if she was acting coquettishly. From Xishanglan's angle, he could see the side of the man's face that had a teasing smile on it. His gentle eyes flashed past a trace of ridicule. "Young master, the overlord has always been sinister and cunning, could it be?" Behind the private room, an ugly and extremely sinister skinny old man opened his mouth in a low voice. Before he could finish his words, Xishanglan raised his hand, until the little old man's voice was heard. His thin lips rose slightly, as gentle as the wind, like the spring breeze caressing one's face. However, if one were to look closely, one would find that the smile was actually hiding an extremely cold and sinister aura. Chapter 1794. No matter how strong or how heaven-defying a man was, he was still a man. Once he falls in love with a woman, he would no longer be strong. Even Diamo Xian was the same. Because he had his own weakness. With a weak spot nearby, one's perception would decrease. The current Diamo Xian was wholeheartedly pampering his beloved young lady, so how would he possibly notice their plans? What's more, someone like Yiqing Luo who valued relationships and righteousness. He had the two men in his hands. He didn't believe that Yiqing Luo would abandon his brothers and leave with Diamo Xian. As for him, he only needed to suppress Yiqing Luo. Were they still afraid that Diamo Xian would not surrender obediently? This time, not only could he help his father to bring Yiqing Luo back to the island, they could even capture Diamo Xian along with them. At the same time, he could also make use of Diamo Xian to take all the forces in the imperial palace for his own use. At that time, he would be his father's favorite son. He would also become the future island master. The skinny old man frowned. "Young master, you are too confident. This kind of confidence is not a good thing." As the future master of the island, he naturally hoped that the young master could face everything with confidence. However, the other party was Dizun. He was a legendary figure in the Nirvana realm. Even the island lord wouldn't dare to touch the Arch Palace. The young master actually wanted to swallow the entire imperial palace? Wasn't his appetite a little too big? I guarantee that nothing will go wrong with today's plan. Xishanglan's expression suddenly darkened when he heard someone questioning him. His eyes and smile were still as gentle as the spring breeze. However, there was a strange viciousness to it. No matter how one looked at that face that was as gentle as jade, there was a sense of incongruity. "Wuxia, you just need to follow this young master's plan and arrange everything properly. After today's matter, this young master will definitely raise the status of you three siblings on the island." When the skinny old man called Wuxia heard that, the words of advice stopped at the tip of his tongue. Far away, Yiqing Luo's private room. Diamo Xian hugged Yiqing Luo's petite body, but his peripheral vision was faintly discernible as he shot a glance at Xishanglan. "Ah Xian, after Xishanglan makes his move, if we follow him, will we be able to find Xiao Yi and Jinzi?" Yiqing Luo suddenly raised her head and looked at Diamo Xian. "Emin?" Diamo Xian caressed her fine black hair. "So what we can do now is to wait." "Wait?" Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. "But he hasn't taken any action. Does it mean that he isn't fully prepared? If we continue to wait, won't we be giving them a chance to prepare? What is his identity? What is the power behind him? Not to mention, since he chose to make a move in the treasure-gathering pavilion with a few tens of thousands of people, even if he wasn't completely prepared, he would absolutely not give us the chance to take advantage of the situation." Diamo Xian lowered his head and looked at Yiqing Luo, who was unable to conceal the anxiety in her heart as he sighed softly. Everything about his lass was perfect. He was too sentimental and righteous. If a true expert had too many restraints in his heart, he would not be able to escape. This kind of restraint would only become a stumbling block to reaching the top. However, it was also because of the importance she attached to relationships. It was precisely because she seemed cold and hard, but in fact she was a gentle girl. She attracted his gaze. His beloved Lil Luo, It was this kind of Lil Luo, Chapter 1795. Yes, she wanted to bid for the heavenly primordial serene grass and use it to refine pills for the two little sacred beasts. But in the current situation, how could she care about the Tianyuan serene grass? But when Yiqing Luo raised her head and met with Diamo Xian's glistening peach blossom eyes, her petite body suddenly trembled. Right, her goal was to retrieve the sky primordial serene grass. If she didn't care about the Tianyuan serene grass, wouldn't Xishanglan, who had been spying on her in the dark, Sense her abnormality? She could not let Shi Shanglan suspect anything. She must bid for this returning heaven primordial serene grass. Now. What number of items are we at now? Yiqing Luo turned her head and looked outside the veil towards the direction of the first floor. The 9th item. Diamo Xian took her to the railing, returning heaven primordial serene grass. The 9th item for auction was the sky returning primordial serene grass which Yiqing Luo wanted. Fortunately he did not miss it. At this moment, there were still more than 3,000 people bidding for the heaven returning origin serene grass. The base price was 50,000 gold coins, and the returning heaven primordial serene grass started at 10,000 gold coins each time. The price had already reached 3 million gold coins. It was obvious how many profound practitioners were yearning for the returning heaven origin serene grass. As long as they could obtain the heaven restoring origin serene grass and refine it, they would be able to achieve a breakthrough and bring glory to their clans. This was a glory that could not be bought no matter how much money one spent. Now that he was feeling the pinch, he had to spend some money. It would be good for the future. In an instant, the price of the heaven returning serene grass soared to 5 million gold coins. And the person who called out this price was Prime Minister's son, who was seated in the cabin not too far away from Yiqing Luo. Prime Minister's son was the strongest person in the Sun family. He was unrivaled along the way and became the Prime Minister of the Eastern continent. Not only did he rely on his means, but he also relied on his ability. The current Prime Minister's son was already a high-level Earth Profound 8th grade Profound practitioner. He was only a step away from advancing to the 9th grade of the Earth Profound realm. If he consumed the pill refined from the heaven-restoring serene grass, he might be able to step into the Sky Profound realm. He had already invited a Grandmaster Alchemist to refine a pill for his advancement. Prime Minister's son was determined to obtain the returning heaven primordial serene grass. He was auctioning something in the auction house. What mattered was not who was more powerful. It was about who had more money. Many rich kids began to bid again. Prime Minister's son couldn't wait to get the returning Sky Yuan serene grass, so he didn't bother to argue with the others. 10 million gold coins. The atmosphere suddenly froze. The clamor instantly died down. 10 million gold coins? Could Prime Minister's son afford that much money? The East Wave continent was so fertile? Spending 10 million gold coins for an herb that could raise the mystic rank? Was Prime Minister's son crazy? Or did he want to obtain this stock of medicinal herb to advance? Promotion. Everyone in the auction house looked at Prime Minister's son's private room enviously. If Prime Minister's son wanted to ascend to the Sky Profound realm, he would become a Sky Profound Supreme Expert. Indeed, he did not care about money. Once he succeeded in becoming a sovereign of the Sky Profound realm, even if it was 30 million or 40 million, he was willing to spend it. 10 million gold coins. 10 million gold coins. Are there any other bids? The white-browed old man hit the auction stage with a hammer. He shouted at the top of his lungs, but no one responded. He raised his hammer high. 10 million gold coins going once. 10 million gold coins going twice. 10 million. 15 million. Suddenly a sweet voice was heard. Another 5 million? Everyone was stunned. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice to see who was so daring. Chapter 1796. In the VIP box on the second floor, a slender jade-like hand lifted the white veil. It revealed the face of a beautiful young girl. The girl was dressed in a fiery red dress. Standing behind the veil, the flaming skirt was like a phoenix spreading its wings, flashing with a charm that made one unable to look away. Facing tens of thousands of pairs of eyes that were looking at him in unison. The girl was extremely calm and did not have the slightest bit of stage fright. Instead, she revealed a dazzling smile. It was like a blooming poppy, exuding a suffocating charm. Yiqing Luo, it's Yiqing Luo. I was wondering who dared to challenge Prime Minister's son at this time. Other than Yiqing Luo, there's no one else. Among the people seated on the first floor, someone immediately recognized Yiqing Luo. After all, there were at least 1,000 people queuing at the entrance of the treasure-gathering pavilion. The Zhao, Qian, Sun, and Li families, as well as Prime Minister's son's bullying. They all saw it. Now that he saw Yiqing Luo standing out to challenge Prime Minister Sunday, they were not surprised at all. When Yiqing Luo's name was called out, the entire auction hall was in an uproar. Almost 10,000 people all stood up as they raised their heads to look at Yiqing Luo's cabin. After all, ever since Yiqing Luo returned to the headquarters from the Dark Forces, Yiqing Luo's name had already spread throughout the entire country. There was no one in the entire Nirvana realm who did not know about it. He had to rescue the students of the various academies who were trapped in the dark spell. He became the benefactor of the various powers and sections. Then he risked his life to sneak into the base camp of the dark forces and secretly revealed the location of the base to the Imperial Palace. Most importantly, this girl was only 15 years old. The girl who had been called trash in the past. Using his own strength, he sealed the King of Darkness consciousness. He had crushed the conspiracy of the dark forces. Even the ghost martial arts master, who had never been interested in anything other than practicing martial arts, was full of praise for him. Furthermore, he had a golden mouth to judge. In the future, Yiqing Luo would definitely be a talent who could ascend to the upper realm. Such a big name. It attracted the attention of tens of thousands of people every minute. Yiqing Luo had totally not expected that she would actually cause such a huge commotion. Even when he obtained the divine artifact in the tomb of the Ling King, it did not cause such a huge commotion. She was completely famous. 20 million. Just as everyone was admiring Yiqing Luo, Prime Minister Sun was so infuriated that his chest kept heaving up and down as he clenched his teeth and spat out 3 words. Everyone turned to look at Prime Minister Sun again. Looks like Prime Minister Sun was determined not to let go. And that 15-year-old girl obviously didn't want to let Prime Minister Sun have an easy time. 21 million. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly as she wasn't in a hurry to increase the bid. Prime Minister Sun slammed the table and glared at her angrily. Stupid girl. Do you know the rules of the treasure-gathering pavilion? Once the deal is made, it must be done on the spot. She was just a 15-year-old girl. Even though she had become famous to the point where she was known by everyone, she was still a little girl. However, it was only a matter of a few days. Even if the General Hospital were to intervene, they wouldn't be able to prepare 30 million gold coins for her in such a short time. Premier Sun absolutely didn't believe that Yiqing Luo could take out so many gold coins. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. I know, is there a problem? Prime Minister Sun seemed as though he had eaten half a fly as he didn't know whether to swallow or spit it out. The surrounding people didn't give him any face as they all burst out laughing with a puffed. The meaning in Yiqing Luo's words was very obvious. She wasn't afraid to do the transaction on the spot. Chapter 1797. Prime Minister Sun suppressed his anger as he called out again, 25 million. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change, 26 million. Obviously Yiqing Luo was going against him. No one was willing to give in. As for the other tycoons, they were also extremely interested in this medicinal herb. Earlier it was because they heard that Prime Minister Sun was going to advance to Sky Profound stage and they weren't willing to offend a Sky Profound overlord. But now Yiqing Luo was blocking in front of them. Those tycoons also started to call out their prices in a probing manner. It was just a joss sticks time and the price had already reached 57 million. Many of the tycoons were sweating profusely as they looked at the sky recovering primordial serene grass with extravagant hopes. But the price had exceeded what they could accept. What was left was a stalemate between Prime Minister Sun and Yiqing Luo. 60 million. Just 3 words and one could tell that Prime Minister Sun was gritting his teeth. Apparently the current price had touched his bottom line. 61 million. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly as she continued to increase the bid by 1 million. The surrounding people were in a flurry of discussion. They were all guessing what was Yiqing Luo's identity. She was actually able to take out so many gold coins without any change in expression. Even if the number 1 tycoon was here, he wouldn't be able to take out 60 million gold coins without any heartache. Did Yiqing Luo really have so much money? There were quite a number of people who were directly betting on the final price of the sky recovering primordial serene grass. The white-browed elderly held the hammer as he raised his voice. 61 million. Are there any higher bids than 61 million? 61 million going once. 6,000. 65 million. The tensed voice was as though the words were squeezed out from the slits of his teeth. Prime Minister Sun's expression was steely green. He clenched his fists tightly as he suppressed his rage. No matter what, he absolutely could not fly into a rage on the spot. When he got the sky recovering primordial serene grass and refined the medicinal pill. When he advanced to Sky Profound stage. He had plenty of ways to make Yiqing Luo live a life worse than death. This time, after hearing Prime Minister Sun's bid, Yiqing Luo didn't immediately increase the bid by 1 million. The surrounding crowd guessed that 65 million should be Yiqing Luo's limit. But the next moment Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly widened as she blinked. Prime Minister Sun, you're so rich, 65 million, I'm afraid even the East Continent's treasury doesn't have so much money, right? As far as she knew, the East Wave continent most likely didn't have the ability to take out 650,000 gold coins at once. Prime Minister Sun's offer was even higher than the East Water continent's national treasury. Obviously, Prime Minister Sun was not clean. Everyone also thought of this point when they heard Yiqing Luo's seemingly innocent question. He looked at Prime Minister Sun suspiciously. There were also many people from the East Wave continent present. After hearing Yiqing Luo's words, the expression on his face suddenly turned gloomy. No matter how wealthy a prime minister was, it was impossible for him to take out 65 million gold coins in one go. Even the East Water continent's Jade Dome sect might not be able to afford it. Where did Prime Minister Sun get his money from? The answer, even if one used their toes to think, could be guessed. You. Where my money came from has nothing to do with you. Prime Minister Sun's face was gloomy as his eyes were filled with malice. He clenched his fists tightly as his other hand wiped the sweat which seeped out from his forehead. Yiqing Luo's long-ending tone dragged out an "oh." Following that, she looked at Prime Minister Sun with a beaming smile as she said word by word, 66 million. Chapter 1798. Yiqing Luo. Prime Minister Sun couldn't bear it any longer. What on earth do you want to do? Looking at Prime Minister Sun's embarrassment turning into anger, unable to maintain the Prime Minister's dignified look, Yiqing Luo's brows curved as she smiled delightfully. What do I want to do? I want the Tianyuan serene grass back. You. Prime Minister Sun pointed angrily at Yiqing Luo as he panted in anger. Yiqing Luo spread out her hands as she shrugged her shoulders with a helpless look. Prime Minister Sun just has to quarrel with a junior like me. What else can I do? I'm also in despair. Prime Minister Sun's dry lips kept trembling. He clutched his chest and gasped for air. Prime Minister Sun, do you still want to bid? The white-browed old man interrupted the quarrel between the two guests. As the auctioneer of Jubao Pavilion, looking at this kind of customer who was completely playing with money in order to go against the other party, he loved it the most. But no matter what, that girl seemed to have a good relationship with young Master Shi. Bidding? Of course. Prime Minister Sun took a deep breath to calm himself down. The white-browed old man was the chief auctioneer of the treasure-gathering pavilion, and he was also one of the managers of the treasure-gathering pavilion. Naturally, Prime Minister Sun did not dare to offend him. 67 million. Prime Minister Sun's heart felt as if it was being cut by a knife. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she gave a thumbs up to Prime Minister Sun for being able to persist till now. Was Prime Minister Sun going to use his entire fortune to buy this sky-restoring serene grass? He really went out in a whoosh. Was he certain that he would have the opportunity to break through to the sky-profound realm? So, he had already disregarded the consequences and was going all out? 67 million. It wasn't that she was out of money. The money she had was more than enough to deal with Prime Minister Sunday. When Diamo Xian gave her the profound phoenix ring, there was a huge pile of coins inside. After that, she went around swindling and abducting people, plus the cooperation with the Mu brothers. He had earned quite a lot of money. Although the majority of the coins that she was bidding for were those that Diamo Xian had placed in the profound phoenix ring. However, she still felt heartache. After all, when they got married in the future, Diamo Xian's money would also belong to her. Now that she was spending so extravagantly, her heart ached for her small amount of money. Cough cough. Of course, Yiqing Luo totally didn't want to spend 60 to 70 million gold coins to bid for a stock of 1,000-years-old medicinal herb. 10 to 20 million was still within her acceptable range. It would be foolish to buy it at a price several times higher than this price. The only reason why she kept bidding was to annoy Prime Minister Sunday. But it seemed that Prime Minister Sun had almost reached his bottom line. If the bidding continued and Prime Minister Sun gave up, she would really feel distressed about her money. Suddenly, the hand around her waist tightened. Yiqing Luo instinctively blurted out, 68 million. The arm around his waist tightened even more. Yiqing Luo was puzzled as she looked sideways at Diamo Xian. But Diamo Xian's expression was grave and his face was chilly. He made his move. What? Diamo Xian hugged her waist, not to let her raise the price but to remind her? Yiqing Luo's expression sunk as her gaze immediately shot towards Shishanglan's cabin. He realized that Shishanglan's voice had indeed disappeared. There was no one in that private room. Let's hurry up and catch up. Yiqing Luo didn't have the mood to continue bickering with Prime Minister Sun as she anxiously tugged Dmo Xian's arm, trying to catch up with Xishang Lan. Chapter 1799. Yiqing Luo's breathing grew heavier and she tried her best to slow down her breathing. That was right. Dmo Xian was right. She was the center of attention. Everyone's gaze was fixed on her. If she leaves, Xishang Lan would definitely be suspicious. Once Xishang Lan became suspicious, Xiao Yi and Jin Zi were probably in danger. She had to believe in Dmo Xian to believe in Little Nine. At this moment, Prime Minister Sun's private room was frozen. The butler next to him tried to persuade Prime Minister Sun to give up on the returning sky's serene grass. He was slapped away by Prime Minister Sunday. Now, it was no longer just a problem of a single stalk of herb. He was the Prime Minister of the East Wave continent. If he lost to a 15-year-old girl in terms of money, then he would lose. Wouldn't that be a joke? He had given up on the returning heaven essence serene grass. There were people from all over the world, from all continents and from all kinds of forces. In the future they might laugh at the Sun family. Perhaps they would laugh at the East Water continent. More importantly, the news that he was about to step into the profound Sky Supreme realm had already spread. If he could not advance to the Sky Profound realm, the Sun clan had climbed to their current position by stepping on the heads and corpses of many people. Those sworn enemies of the Sun family would definitely not give him the chance to advance to the Sky Profound realm. No matter what, he was determined to obtain the heaven-returning essence serene grass. Prime Minister Sun's eyes were bloodshot. He clenched his teeth, stood up and walked to the railing. His hand gripped the railing tightly as he said word by word, 70 million. The auction hall was silent. Everyone turned to look at Prime Minister Sunday. Prime Minister Sun was sweating profusely, breathing heavily, and his face was flushed. Everyone knew that Prime Minister Sun must have taken out his entire fortune to bid for this herb. In order to advance to the Sky Profound realm, Prime Minister Sun was really going all out. The people present were all shrewd people. He also knew that Prime Minister Sun was really angry now. Challenging him at this time would drive Prime Minister Sun crazy. Furthermore, 70 million. That was 70 million. And they were all gold coins. Gold coins. Even if he was a tycoon, he wouldn't be able to take out so many gold coins. Immediately following that, everyone's gazes shot towards Yiqing Luo's cabin. Unknowingly, Yiqing Luo had put down the veil, concealing everything in the private room. The whole place fell silent once again. Is he giving up? The white-browed elderly was also looking towards Yiqing Luo's cabin in astonishment. Yiqing Luo's bid didn't come even after a long time. Prime Minister Sun's heart was burning with anxiety, and he clenched his fists tightly. Manager of the treasure-gathering pavilion, time has passed, please drop the hammer. The white-browed elderly looked at Yiqing Luo's private room for some time before he raised his hammer and shouted, 70 million. 70 million going once. 70 million twice. 70 million. He paused for a moment. The surroundings were still silent. The white-browed old man made the final call. 70 million going thrice. Deal. A silent battle finally came to an end. Everyone sighed. He had not expected Yiqing Luo to choose to give up the bidding in the end. But it was true. Even if the entire Western continent used their national treasury and Three Springs sect to gather 70 million gold coins, they might not be able to gather that much. Yiqing Luo was an earth-profound cultivator. She was still 1,000 miles away from the Sky-Profound realm. There was no need to spend all her fortune to buy this stalk of herb. Yiqing Luo's decision to give up was within everyone's expectations. In the end, Prime Minister Sun obtained the sky-returning primordial serene grass at the price of 70 million gold coins. Chapter 1800. His face was ashen and his eyes were gloomy. If it wasn't for the fact that they were still at the Jubao Pavilion's venue, he probably wanted to rush over to Yiqing Luo's private room and dismember her into 1,000 pieces. Prime Minister Sun tore off the veil angrily. The steward of Jubao Pavilion delivered the heaven-returning serene grass to the private room. He left immediately. He didn't have the slightest interest in any other rare treasures. Even if he was interested, he didn't have any more money to bid. At the same time, Yiqing Luo's private room. When Prime Minister Sun shouted 70 million gold coins, Dmo Xian's arm tightened as he lowered his voice. We're here, let's go. Yiqing Luo immediately tore off her veil. Where would she find the mood to raise the price with Prime Minister Sunday? Before leaving, Dmo Xian flicked his finger lightly. Shiruashi, who had been unconscious, opened her eyes in a daze. Before he could pounce into Yiqing Luo's arms, his shoulder was pressed down by Yiqing Luo's arm. Shiruashi's body fell back onto the chair. "Little Shi, you have to help me with something," Yiqing Luo said seriously. Shiruashi's face flushed red as she nodded in a daze. "Whatever Sister Qing Luo needs, little Shi will definitely help you settle it." She felt that this kind of sister was so dashing. "Xian and I are going out to do something. You stay here and pretend to be me." Yiqing Luo pointed to the veil at the side. "Stand in front of the veil and don't lift it up. If you have nothing to do, raise a sign and shout out a price." Shiruashi was confused. "I'll explain it to you when I get back. Only you can help me now." Yiqing Luo saw the urging in Dmo Xian's eyes and whispered to Shiruashi, "Little Shi, you won't let me down, right?" "No. No way." Shiruashi immediately widened her eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, the hands on her shoulders suddenly felt lighter. Yiqing Luo had already stood up straight as she pulled Dmo Xian out of the room quietly. He looked at the empty room. Shiruashi was still in a daze. In his mind, he rearranged what Yiqing Luo had said earlier. Shiruashi had been by her brother's side since she was a child, dealing with the Shi family's affairs. Naturally, it wasn't as harmless as it seemed on the surface. She quickly understood that Sister Qing Luo definitely had something to settle. Moreover, they couldn't expose that Sister Qing Luo wasn't in the cabin. With that in mind, Shiruashi clenched her fists. This was the first time Sister Qing Luo had entrusted her with a task. She must do it well. After leaving the private room, Yiqing Luo was worried about leaving Shiruashi alone in the private room. After all, Shishanglan's spies were all around that private room. What was Shishanglan's identity? She had no way of knowing. She could not let Shiruashi get hurt because of her. Yiqing Luo nestled in Dmo Xian's arms as he carried her and chased after the nine-tailed fox. Yiqing Luo took out a message shell from the profound phoenix ring. Yiqing Luo had never used this before. After leaving a message in the shell, when Dmo Xian passed by Shiruoyu, Yiqing Luo stuffed the shell into Shiruoyu's hand. Shiruoyu was standing backstage watching the 10th auction item. Suddenly his body was hit by someone. When he raised his head, he only had time to catch a glimpse of shimmering purple. In his hand there was a hard object. He frowned as he looked around the surroundings alertly. He didn't detect any abnormality at all. Even the steward beside him had a composed expression as he continued with his work, which meant that someone had bumped into him earlier. Other than him, no one else sensed it. His heart suddenly tightened. Chapter 1801. Jubao Pavilion in a dark secret room. In the silence, suddenly, a creaking sound came from the only wooden bed in the secret room. Following that, a petite figure sat up. Her soft and powerless hands grabbed the side of the bed, trying to climb down the bed. But she was obviously out of strength. Her hands left the side of the bed. His whole body fell from the bed. With a bang, the door to the secret room was opened. A tall figure slowly walked into the secret room. The scene in the secret room was comical and funny. The girl's upper body was on the ground, her face was covered in dust and weeds, and her lower body was still hanging on the bed. She heard someone approaching. The girl forced herself to stay conscious and looked over. The candlelight flickered and it was extremely dark. She could vaguely see 2 feet in front of her, as well as a brown robe. Clouds rolled out of the golden edges of the robe. Her heart trembled and her lips moved slightly. But she didn't have any strength to make a sound. "Shall we look at you? I'm not by your side and you torment yourself like this." A gentle voice floated over from above her head. Soon after, the tall figure had already stooped down. 2 thin but powerful arms wrapped around Yan Xiaoyi's slender waist. Yan Xiaoyi's breathing tightened and she tried to struggle. But she felt as if all the strength in her body had been sucked out. She couldn't push away the person who was hugging her. Sensing Yan Xiaoyi's movements, that gentle voice floated over again. "Xiaoyi, it's because I love you too much. You're my fiancé. In your heart there should only be me." Yan Xiaoyi opened her mouth. She used all her strength to spit out an inaudible breath. "You, shameless." The dim candlelight flickered incessantly. Faintly, it shone on Shishanglan's gentle face. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and a warm smile appeared on his face. No matter how one looked at him, he looked like a handsome young master. But when Yan Xiaoyi saw that face, a hint of anger appeared on her face. However, just as she uttered those 3 words, She seemed to have lost all her strength and fell into Shishanglan's arms. Shishanglan had drugged her. Too despicable. What was Shishanglan trying to do? He actually dared to make a move on her in treasure-gathering pavilion's territory. Yan Xiaoyi still remembered it clearly. After she had a chat with Yiqing Luo yesterday, she was determined to try her best to forget the feeling of loving Qiao Jin. She would not do anything, because she couldn't be with Qiao Jin as an engaged couple. She had to force her brothers to choose between her and Qiao Jin, and so on and so forth. She loved Qiao Jin. He also loved his brothers. Giving up on Qiao Jin didn't mean giving up on those brothers. Yan Xiaoyi had already tried her best to keep the atmosphere between her and Qiao Jin the same as before. However, Qiao Jin's reaction, it still pierced her heart. Said to let go. But he was unable to truly let go. She was afraid that she would cry in front of Qiao Jin. He was also afraid of arousing Yiqing Luo and Dmo Shen's worries. Therefore she took the opportunity to blend into the crowd. She only wanted to wait for her emotions to stabilize before returning to their side. But she had just left Yiqing Luo for a short while. Her tears didn't even have time to fall. A pungent fragrance filled her nostrils. She had no time to react before she completely lost consciousness. Chapter 1802. She felt weak all over. Her surroundings were dark. This made Yan Xiaoyi's heart surge with an ominous premonition. Shishanglan's gaze was locked onto Yan Xiaoyi's face. He saw her expression turn serious, nervous and flustered. He let out a low laugh from his throat. Xiaoyi, don't be so afraid of me. After all, we are engaged. We have to get married. His voice was as gentle as usual. It was like the spring water flowing through her heart. However, Yan Xiaoyi felt an inexplicable chill in her heart. Shishanglan carried Yan Xiaoyi and placed her back on the wooden bed. He sat on the edge of the wooden bed. Yan Xiaoyi, who had just laid on the bed, suddenly tensed up. She stared at Shishanglan warily. Shishanglan's slender fingers gently stroked her fine hair. His fingertips were filled with a strong sense of pity. If Yan Xiaoyi had not kept looking into his eyes, she would have thought that Shishanglan was really in love with her. Shishanglan looked at her and smiled extremely gently. However, Yan Xiaoyi could not see any emotion in his eyes. Right. There was no emotion in Shishanglan's eyes, even though he pretended to be in love. But in the end, that affection was fake. She could tell. Don't look at me like that. I will not be able to control myself. Shishanglan lowered his head gently and kissed her forehead. The man's gentle breath landed on her face. Yan Xiaoyi felt goosebumps all over her face. When he kissed her, she felt a chill run down her spine. Yan Xiaoyi even wanted to vomit. She cursed Shishanglan's entire body in her heart. She did not have the strength to struggle or scold Shishanglan. She could only passively endure Shishanglan's humiliation. She would rather die. Don't worry, I will not touch you for now. Shishanglan naturally felt Yan Xiaoyi's body tensing up. The corners of his lips curled up slightly. His lips moved away from her forehead and landed beside her ear. To be honest, if you're obedient enough, maybe I'll consider letting you truly become my wife. Yan Xiaoyi's body tensed up. She kept shrinking her body and tried her best to avoid Shishanglan's touch. His nearness made her feel disgusted. Become his wife. Spat on his face. But at the next moment, Yan Xiaoyi suddenly realized something. Shishanglan said he would not touch her for now? Then, what was Shishanglan's goal? Why did he trap her in this secret room? Recalling yesterday, he specially brought 4 invitations to the main courtyard for Yiqing Luo. Shishanglan's motive was Yiqing Luo. Shishanglan's motive was, he wanted to use her to threaten Yiqing Luo? He wanted to use her? She absolutely could not become Yiqing Luo's burden. Yan's mind started to think of over. Yan Hangyi's thoughts. Suddenly, her eyes lit up as she thought of something. She had Hangyi. Lan. Shishanglan carried her by the waist again. Chapter 1803. Yes. Qiao Jin is inferior to you. Almost using all her strength, Yan Xiaoyi let out a low, hoarse voice in her rage. Although his voice was low, it could be heard in the quiet secret room. But I like Qiao Jin. I just love Qiao Jin. She enunciated each word with great force. Hearing this, Shishanglan's smile became even gentler. His knees were pressed against the side of the bed. He looked down at Yan Xiaoyi, who was lying on the bed without any resistance. Well. He smiled warmly and said, But Xiaoyi, I am your fiancé. The person you should love is me. A person like you who doesn't even know how to love and you still want me to love you? Yan Xiaoyi panted lightly, and the words she spat out became increasingly softer. The last two words had already become a stream of air. Not a single sound could be heard. Xishang Lan's gentle eyes were like a painting. All right, good girl, don't force me to be too rough with you. Too violent? What did he mean? What did he want to do? A trace of panic flashed across Yan Xiaoyi's eyes. Before she could react, Xishang Lan's body had already landed on her. Xishang Lan. The soundless air current chided Xishang Lan's name. Yan Xiaoyi was completely flustered. Didn't he say that he wouldn't touch her for the time being? Yan Xiaoyi's eyes widened, and her breathing quickened in that instant. Xishang Lan's expression was still gentle and his smile was still warm. However, his actions were so ruthless that it was nauseating. His large palm caressed Yan Xiaoyi's delicate body wantonly. In the depths of his gentle eyes, a layer of lustful coldness gradually appeared. Even if he had no love for this woman. But with a beauty in his arms, he wanted to tease her. Xishang Lan could not help but feel excited. His hands caressing Yan Xiaoyi's body became more and more wanton. His hand had just touched Yan Xiaoyi's skin. Yan Xiaoyi's entire body trembled, her weak and powerless body was also anxiously regaining some strength. He raised his hand and struggled, trying to break free from Xishang Lan's restraint. However, this made Xishang Lan even more fearless. Disgusting, what a disgusting feeling. Xishang Lan actually dared to treat her like this. Yan Xiaoyi's eyes were burning with rage. She didn't want Xishang Lan to touch her. She absolutely did not want it. Bah! There was a loud noise. Yan Xiaoyi struggled and slapped Xishang Lan's face. Even though he was drugged, his body was weak and weak. Yan Xiaoyi's slap left a bright red palm print on Xishang Lan's face. Xishang Lan, who was on top of her, suddenly stopped moving. Xishang Lan propped himself up, the gentle expression on his face was already cracked. His face was gloomy and he touched his cheek with one hand. A pair of eyes that had always been like flowers blooming in spring actually shot out an extremely biting cold intent. Yan Xiaoyi glared at him fearlessly. She couldn't help but sneer inwardly, this is his true face. He was a bloodthirsty, cruel demon. The corners of her mouth curled up, revealing a hint of cruelty in her evil smile. Without waiting for Xishang Lan to react, Yan Xiaoyi used all her strength to lift her leg and forcefully hit the spot between Xishang Lan's legs, 3 inches below. Ugh! Xishang Lan's face turned pale from the pain. Taking this opportunity, Yan Xiaoyi's body rolled. When she rolled to the foot of the bed, she panted heavily and forced herself to run off the bed. However, when her feet stepped on the ground, she had no strength to stand steadily. Her entire body fell onto the ground softly. Yan Xiaoyi turned her head and looked at Xishang Lan, who had fallen onto the bed and was covering a certain part. Chapter 1804. Bitch. Xishang Lan gritted his teeth and spat out the word. He endured the pain, jumped down from the bed and quickly rushed to Yan Xiaoyi's side. This bitch dared to kick him there. And so hard. What kind of humiliation was this to a man? Xishang Lan bent over and reached out to grab Yan Xiaoyi's hair. Whoosh! A ray of silver light was extremely dazzling under the dim candlelight in the secret room. Xishang Lan's hand paused and he quickly rolled to the side. Thump thump thump. A few heavy sounds were heard. That silver light pierced into the ground where Xishang Lan was standing. Those were 3 shiny silver money darts. The darts were so sharp that they almost pierced halfway into the ground. If the 3 money darts had pierced into Xishang Lan's body, even if he didn't die, he would be half dead. Finally willing to come out? Xishang Lan propped himself up and looked in the direction where the money darts came from. From a dark corner of the secret room, a slender figure slowly walked out. The green and white uniform wrapped around his tight and muscular body. The dim candlelight shone on the man's extremely ordinary face. I thought you were prepared to watch me sleep with her. Xishang Lan's expression returned to its usual gentleness. But the tone of his voice was so cold that it could pierce one's bones. Yan Xiaoyi, who was lying on the ground, suddenly trembled. She panted lightly and turned to look at the man standing under the candlelight. His eyes were gradually tainted with a layer of mist. Qiao Jin, it was Qiao Jin. When was he in the secret room? Or, had he always been there? Why did he only come out now? She was just almost ked by Xishang Lan. He saw it but didn't show himself? Yan Xiaoyi's heart was in so much pain that she found it hard to breathe. She pursed her lips tightly and her eyes were filled with coldness. Shi Shanglan, I gave you a chance. Qiao Jin slowly walked towards Yan Xiaoyi. His expression was solemn. His footsteps stopped beside Yan Xiaoyi. He bent over and wanted to carry Yan Xiaoyi. His hand just touched her body. The woman slapped his hand away. Qiao Jin's hand that was stretched out in midair suddenly froze. He raised his dark eyes and met Yan Xiaoyi's eyes. When he saw the look of despair in her eyes, his heart seemed to be violently strangled by something. Qiao Jin clenched his fists and suppressed the urge to pull her into his embrace. He only silently took out a golden pill and brought it to Yan Xiaoyi's lips. Yan Xiaoyi originally wanted to move her head away, unwilling to have anything to do with Qiao Jin. But when he saw the pill, she held it in, opened her mouth and swallowed. This was the 100-severing pill which Yi Qing Luo had specially refined for all the brothers in the world group. The 100-dispelling pill could cure all kinds of poisons. In a short period of time, one would be immune to all kinds of poisons. This pill was something that the brothers of the world group had prepared with each of them in case they needed it. Just now, Yan Xiaoyi wanted to take the opportunity to take the 100 solutions pill. She was frightened by Shi Shanglan's sudden attempt to force himself on her. After taking the 100 dispelling pill, she would be able to get rid of this kind of profound energy which had been dissolved, and her body was in a predicament where she didn't have any strength at all. After she regained her strength, then she would be able to rely on herself to leave this godforsaken place. Holding Qiao Jin's hand, after swallowing that 100 dispelling pill, Yan Xiaoyi directly turned her head around and didn't look at him again. Chapter 1805. Shi Shanglan smiled warmly and said, "You don't have the right to take my life." Qiao Jin's expression darkened and he raised his arm. A strong profound energy pulled the 3 gold coin darts out of the ground. Then it shot straight toward Shi Shanglan. Qiao Jin's speed was extremely fast as he charged toward Shi Shanglan. Shi Shanglan didn't expect that Qiao Jin would dare to fight on his territory. Moreover, the place that was squeezed down by 3 inches was still aching from Yan Xiaoyi's earlier blow. Even when he walked, he felt a sharp pain in his body. Helpless, Shi Shanglan could only roll on the ground again, quickly rolling to the side to avoid the attack of the gold coin darts. However, Qiao Jin's palm wind had already landed. Shi Shanglan didn't have time to roll on the ground again. With a loud bang, Shi Shanglan's chest was hit by this palm. Instantly, a heart-wrenching feeling spread from his chest. Shi Shanglan groaned in pain, blood flowing out of the corner of his mouth. He quickly retreated a few steps, raising his hand to press on his chest. He fiercely widened his eyes, a sinister and ruthless glint in his eyes. "Guards, man!" He raised his voice and shouted. The tightly shut door of the secret room suddenly opened. A dozen people dressed in night clothes charged into the secret room with large blades. "Young master!" The night walkers saw the injured Shi Shanglan and immediately went forward, shielding Shi Shanglan behind them. "Capture these 2 people. We definitely cannot let them escape." Shi Shanglan shouted. That face that was warm like jade seemed hideous and terrifying at this moment. The dozen night walkers received the order, and instantly attacked Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi in an orderly manner. Those dozen people had clearly gone through special training. Their teamwork was also shockingly terrifying. In just a moment they surrounded Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi. Qiao Jin's expression was grave as he retreated to Yan Xiaoyi's side. "Have you rested well?" Yan Xiaoyi clenched her fists. She felt that her strength, the strength that belonged to her, was quickly returning. The profound heart jade in her heart could also feel the weak light of the profound heart jade. She took a deep breath and stood up with Qiao Jin's hand. "Thank you." The tacit understanding between them didn't require any verbal communication. She took the 100 solutions pill, then continued to pretend to be weak and fell to the ground. In reality, she was waiting for the 100 dispelling pill to display its full effect, to cure the poison in her body and to restore her strength. On the other hand, Qiao Jin was in charge of attracting Shi Shanglan's attention and buying time for her to recover. These people are all at the Earth Profound Realm and above, they won't be easy to deal with. Qiao Jin reminded in a low voice. Yan Xiaoyi flipped her palm and a black scythe appeared in her hand. She gripped her scythe tightly, her eyes filled with fury. "Let's see if they're more powerful, or if my black scythe blade is more powerful." With that, Yan Xiaoyi's eyes were filled with killing intent. The scene of Shi Shanglan taking advantage of him filled his mind. She wanted nothing more than to kill Shi Shanglan to vent her anger. Both sides quickly clashed. Yan Shaoyi was completely enraged. His attacks were extremely ferocious, as if he didn't care about his life. The black scythe blade in his hand flashed with a terrifying aura of death. While Qiao Jin fought against the Night Walkers, he also had to constantly pay attention to Yan Shaoyi's movements. The current Yan Shaoyi was in a state of rage. Chapter 1806. The strength of over a dozen Nightwalkers was indeed, as Qiao Jin guessed, formidable to the point it made one's hair stand on end. Moreover, that damn tacit understanding. Even if Yan Shaoyi did not play by the rules when she was enraged, she was still able to make the dozens of Nightwalkers guard them tightly. In just a short while, the battle situation of 2 versus 14 high-level profound practitioners had a clear trend. Qiao Jin's side was at an extreme disadvantage. Both of them had dozens of wounds on their bodies. Yan Shaoyi was tightly held in Qiao Jin's embrace, and the two of them continuously retreated backwards. After a while, the two of them retreated to a corner of the secret chamber. Qiao Jin narrowed his eyes and stared at the door of the secret chamber. In his heart, he was secretly calculating whether he could break through the encirclement of more than 10 Nightwalkers and bring Yan Shaoyi out of the secret room. At the same time, he brandished the coin darts in his hands and continuously shot them at the Nightstalker's weak spot. The black scythe in Yan Shaoyi's hand did not show any weakness. Every Nightwalker that charged forward. Yan Shaoyi waved the blade of the black scythe, the sharp blade cutting iron like mud. There were already 2 Nightwalkers who were attacked by Yan Shaoyi's black scythe blade. He was immediately cut in half along with his bones. And at the wound cut by the black scythe blade, it would also be surrounded by a ball of black deathly light. There was no way to stop the bleeding. After fighting for half an hour, the two sides were still in a deadlock. Qiao Jin and Yan Shaoyi leaned against the wall and looked at them warily. When the Nightwalker saw the 2 Nightwalkers whose hands and shoulders were cut off and who were unable to stop the bleeding, he was shocked. He did not dare to step forward recklessly. At this moment, Xishang Lan's pain at the spot 3 inches down had almost disappeared. At this moment he saw that his men had yet to capture Qiao Jin and Yan Shaoyi. His heart instantly became restless. Move faster. If the plan fails, I'll hold you responsible. The Nightwalkers looked at each other. For today's plan. Young Master had prepared for such a long time, and they had all seen it. They absolutely did not dare to take the blame for the failure of their plan. Once they took the blame, it would be a life worse than death. The Nightwalkers gripped the machetes in their hands tightly and slashed at the 2 of them again. Yan Shaoyi had just recovered her strength. After another exhausting battle, he no longer had any strength left. Looking at the dozen or so Nightwalkers, their attacks became fiercer and fiercer. She gripped the black scythe tightly. Without giving her time to recuperate, she directly faced the attack of the Nightwalker. The coin darts in Qiao Jin's hands also rapidly struck the bodies of the Nightwalkers the moment she launched her attack. Suddenly, just as Yan Shaoyi and Qiao Jin were attacking their targets, a lightning-fast figure suddenly appeared among the Nightwalkers. She saw a Nightwalker raising a machete high up and chopping down towards Yan Shaoyi's head. Yan Shaoyi had just waved the black sickle blade and split the Nightwalker in front of her. Suddenly he felt an extremely strong killing intent coming towards him. She glanced sideways at the machete that was right in front of her. He was startled. There was no chance for him to dodge. She operated her profound jade heart, and used the power of her profound jade heart to immediately form a weak barrier. The machete landed on the barrier. Yan Shaoyi's heart tightened even more, and she was just about to use her fastest speed to try her best to avoid it. But in the next instant, her body was tightly embraced by a pair of large hands. A chest that was as scorching hot as Xishang Lan's, and as broad as Xishang Lan's. But the feeling of nestling in this chest made her feel exceptionally at ease. Ugh! A muffled groan entered her ears. Chapter 1807. Qiao Jin, why did you rush up? Yan Shaoyi felt something warm and sticky on her hand. Her expression froze as she pursed her pale lips tightly. Nightwalker's machete had landed on Qiao Jin's back. A bright red line of blood seeped out from it. The machete was smeared with poison. Fortunately, Yan Shaoyi had formed a barrier in a moment of desperation. The barrier blocked the resistance of Nightwalker's machete. Otherwise, this machete could have directly chopped Qiao Jin into 2. Qiao Jin leaned on her delicate shoulder as he panted heavily. Black blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth due to the poison invading his body. Are you stupid or what? Do I need you to act like a hero? It's not like I can't avoid it. Yan Xiaoyi felt the weight of the body pressing down on her gradually increase. She also knew that this machete had caused Xiao Jin a heavy injury. The sound of heavy breathing rang in his ears. He let out a low chuckle. Yan Xiaoyi's face was filled with anger from the laughter. She pushed against his chest with both hands and pushed him away forcefully. "What time is it now, can't you?" She had yet to finish her words. Her beautiful eyes collided with his ink-black eyes. For a moment, all the sounds were choked in her throat. Xiao Jin's eyes were filled with tenderness. The lips that were overflowing with blood slowly rose into an extremely faint arc. He looked at her. The gentleness in his eyes seemed to only be able to contain her alone. Yan Xiaoyi's heart beat rapidly. She was completely unable to control her wildly beating heart. Why would Xiao Jin show such a gaze to her? This gaze, it was as if she was his entire world. "It's good that you're fine." He was still smiling as he spat out each word soundlessly. But Yan Xiaoyi heard it extremely clearly. Her beautiful eyes instantly reddened as a thin mist filled her eyes. What exactly did he want? Why, when she had decided to give up on him? He would always use various methods to give her hope. To make her think that he actually loved her very much? Why did he use such a method to stir up her feelings for him again? Large tears gushed out from Yan Xiaoyi's eyes. She could no longer restrain her emotions. "Even now, the two of you still have the mood to flirt?" Shishanglan walked out from the group of night walkers. His lips curled up gently and his eyes were filled with warmth. "Xiaoyi, as your fiancé, I can give you another chance." He extended his hand towards Yan Xiaoyi. "Come with me." His gentle smile was extremely dazzling. Yan Xiaoyi hugged the man on top of her tightly. She lifted her arm gently, her fingertips brushing past Xiao Jin's thin lips. After that, she and Xiao Jin changed directions. Xiao Jin stood against the wall. She stood in front of Xiao Jin and looked coldly at Shishanglan. Just as she was about to speak, the man behind her suddenly released her slender waist. The weight on Yan Xiaoyi's body instantly lightened. She frowned and reached out to grab Xiao Jin's wrist. "Do you really believe his nonsense?" As soon as she finished speaking, Xiao Jin's large palm suddenly grabbed her hand. Then he pulled hard. Yan Xiaoyi falls into Xiao Jin's arms. The thick smell of blood could not wash away the unique aura of the man. Yan Xiaoyi's heart violently trembled. She raised her eyes and looked in shock at the face that was right in front of her. An extremely ordinary face, but it was filled with an attractive charm. Especially that pair of dark eyes, which made one unable to look away. It did not push her towards Shishanglan. Ever since Shishanglan appeared, Xiao Jin had pushed her towards Shishanglan time and time again. Chapter 1808. This was the first time. Xiao Jin didn't push her to Shishanglan. "If in the past you treated Xiao Yi sincerely, I'm willing to hand Xiao Yi over to you." Xiao Jin's weak voice sounded as though he was barely breathing. He took a deep breath and continued, "But now, I can confirm that Xiao Yi will not be happy if she follows you. I will not take Xiao Yi's happiness and bury it in your hands." Saying that, Xiao Jin tightened his grip on Yan Xiaoyi's waist. Even though there was a thin layer of clothing between them, Yan Xiaoyi could still clearly feel the boiling temperature from Xiao Jin's palm. Her red lips pursed slightly as her eyelids drooped down as she slowly leaned her head on Xiao Jin's shoulder. Xiao Jin's arms tightened as his ordinary and invincible face was filled with determination. "Shishanglan, no matter what, I will not hand Xiao Yi over to you." His words had just ended. The gold coin darts in Xiao Jin's hands were like scattered flowers as they shot towards Shishanglan's direction. At the same time, Yan Xiaoyi, who was leaning on Xiao Jin's shoulder, also flipped over as the black sickle blade in her hands slashed downwards. Shishanglan's reaction was swift as he immediately flipped over to avoid Xiao Jin's attack. But those 10 overnight walkers weren't that lucky. The gold coin darts made a few whooshing sounds as they sank into their vitals. Even if there were night walkers who were lucky enough to avoid the gold coin darts. The next moment, it was Yan Xiaoyi's black sickle blade. In just a moment, the entire secret room was dyed red with blood. "Go!" Xiao Jin shouted in a low voice. Yan Xiaoyi kept her black sickle blade as her petite body suddenly stuffed into Xiao Jin's arms. Xiao Jin tightened his arms as he followed the gold coin darts, which opened up a path as his footsteps expanded. Yiqing Luo's set of footwork immediately made Xiao Jin's figure move strangely as he dashed towards the secret room's entrance. Xiao Jin kicked the door open as he speedily stepped out. Outside the secret room was a dim and long tunnel. Looking over, it was a patch of gray as nothing could be seen clearly. Xiao Jin and Yen Xiaoyi didn't have the chance to think carefully. They could only choose to dash forward. Chase. The 5 night walkers who were still alive held their machetes as they shouted in anger. When the few of them dashed to the entrance, Xishanglan calmly said, "No need to chase. Young master." These brothers were the ones they had trained with since they were young and had gone through life and death situations together. He could only watch helplessly as his brothers died in front of him. How could they not avenge their brothers? They have nowhere to run. Xishanglan narrowed his gentle eyes, and the corners of his mouth curled into an extremely faint smile. That smile was filled with coldness like frost. The anger on the faces of the 5 nightwalkers slowly faded away. Xiao Jin hugged Yen Xiaoyi and fled to the back of the passageway. He didn't hear any footsteps behind him. Xiao Jin Kai released Yen Xiaoyi's waist. When the warmth around her waist disappeared, Yen Xiaoyi felt a sense of discomfort. Her body tensed up as she awkwardly averted her gaze and took a few quick steps forward. Xiao Jin didn't say anything and followed behind her. The two of them were silent for a moment. The atmosphere was inexplicably strange. Yen Xiaoyi couldn't stop her heart from beating violently. She pursed her lips and decided to break the deadlock first. "Do you know what this place is?" Xishanglan and the others actually didn't catch up. I feel. Logically speaking, it was absolutely impossible for Xishanglan to let them escape. Otherwise he would lose the bargaining chip to threaten Yiqing Luo. One must know that Yiqing Luo had an overlord following beside her. Chapter 1809. There must be a trap somewhere. Xiao Jin's gaze swept the surroundings and slowly followed behind Yen Xiaoyi, saying in a deep voice, "This is the underground passageway of the treasure-gathering pavilion." Treasure-gathering pavilion? Yen Xiaoyi turned back in astonishment. What is the relationship between Xishanglan and Ju Bao Pavilion? Xiao Jin shook his head. I'm not sure. However, since Xishanglan dared to attack you in the territory of treasure-gathering pavilion and clearly knew about the underground passageway of treasure-gathering pavilion, he definitely has a close relationship with treasure-gathering pavilion. Pausing for a moment, Xiao Jin's expression became somewhat solemn. I guess that Xishanglan is very likely one of the external forces of treasure-gathering pavilion. They were the same as the Shi family. Yen Xiaoyi's expression instantly turned solemn. She clenched her fists and was slightly annoyed with herself. Why didn't she investigate Xishanglan's identity before this? On the contrary, Xishanglan had investigated everything about her clearly. Let's leave the tunnel first. Be careful. There might be assassins lying in ambush at the exit of the tunnel waiting for us. Xiao Jin glanced at Yen Xiaoyi and knew what she was thinking. Yen Xiaoyi responded with a soft, "N." After taking a few steps, she bit her lower lip. Seemingly hesitating for a long time, she turned her head to look at Xiao Jin. How are your injuries? The poison has already been neutralized. This is just a flesh wound. It's not a big deal, Xiao Jin replied indifferently. Oh. Yen Xiaoyi said softly and turned her head away. She didn't continue asking. As mentioned before, each of them had 100 solutions pill on them. Xiao Jin gave Yen Xiaoyi his 100 solutions pill. And just now Yen Xiaoyi had fed Xiao Jin that 100 solutions pill. Just as Xishanglan mentioned asking Yen Xiaoyi to leave with him. Yen Xiaoyi took the opportunity to feed the 100 solutions pill into Xiao Jin's mouth. After that, Xiao Jin tightened his grip on Yen Xiaoyi's waist, telling her that the poison in his body had already been cured. After living together for a few years, the tacit understanding between the two of them had reached a point where there was no need for any verbal communication. One look, one movement. They would be able to work together flawlessly. Yen Xiaoyi's mind was filled with random thoughts. Suddenly, a series of orderly footsteps came from the tunnel ahead. The two of them halted their steps. Someone was there. There was someone in the secret passage. Had Xishanglan's men caught up? Go. Let's go first. Xiao Jin pulled Yen Xiaoyi's hand, his broad palm wrapped around Yen Xiaoyi's hand. The two of them turned around and walked back in the direction they had just come from. However, he had only run a few steps. Another wave of orderly footsteps could be heard. There were people at the front and back of the passageway. No matter where they ran, they would die. Yen Xiaoyi looked left and right. What should we do? Can you still fight? Xiao Jin tightened his grip on Yen Xiaoyi's hand, his tone inexplicably strange. Yen Xiaoyi didn't think too much about it. All her attention was on their tightly clasped hands. She nodded and said in a trembling voice, I can still, Xiaoyi. Qiao Jin suddenly called out her name with a serious expression, his voice slightly grave. Yan Xiaoyi raised her head in surprise and looked at Qiao Jin. The dim light illuminated the solemn expression on Qiao Jin's face. Yan Xiaoyi could not help but be solemn and straighten her back. I'm saying if. Qiao Jin's voice was a little gloomy, the Overlord and Qing Luo are not able to rush over in time. I will protect you even if I have to sacrifice everything. His last few words were spoken in an extremely soft voice. Yan Xiaoyi could only vaguely hear something about sacrifice, something about everything. But it was merely these few indistinct words. Chapter 1810. He didn't love her. Why would he spend so much effort to protect her? He even blocked a fatal knife for her. Was it because they had been brothers for so many years? But why was it that she could see such deep feelings in Qiao Jin's eyes? Such feelings really didn't seem like the so-called brotherly love. Don't be in a daze. Qiao Jin pulled Yan Xiaoyi's wrist tightly, suddenly exerting force, pulling her into his embrace. Yan Xiaoyi was startled, her body slightly stiffening. Immediately, the man's warm lips were already pressed against her ear. His low and hoarse voice had a few unique magnetism. Xiaoyi, if we can leave Jubao Pavilion alive today, I have something to say to you. Yan Xiaoyi was startled again, raising her head in a daze, her eyes filled with confusion. She was about to ask Qiao Jin about the meaning of his words. But at this moment, Qiao Jin released her delicate body, only grabbing her hand and fiercely pulling her forward. Let's go. As he turned around, Qiao Jin's face was already flushed. Yan Xiaoyi was still in a daze, her mind filled with Qiao Jin's words. She hadn't finished digesting it. Her body suddenly fell forward. Yan Xiaoyi was unable to stabilize her body, suddenly falling forward. Qiao Jin's reaction was swift, his arms slightly exerting force, pulling Yan Xiaoyi into his embrace. This kind of force caused the two of them to be unable to stabilize their bodies. Qiao Jin's body heavily crashed into the wall at the side. Yan Xiaoyi's entire body was completely wrapped in Qiao Jin's embrace. She wasn't injured at all. When she heard the sound of a man drawing in a breath of cold air from beside her ear, Yan Xiaoyi's heart panicked. She hadn't even opened her mouth to speak. Only a clear creak sound was heard. The wall that Qiao Jin's back had crashed into suddenly split open into a huge hole. Qiao Jin lost the support of his strength, his body falling into the hole. Together with Yan Xiaoyi, who was in his embrace, they both fell into the hole. Gotcha. Just as the two of them fell into the hole, the wall closed again. The ground inside this hole was a steep slope that slid downwards. Qiao Jin's body had just fallen onto the ground. Like a top, he directly rolled forward a few rounds. Qiao Jin immediately tightened his arms, doing his best to protect Yan Xiaoyi. After about a dozen laps, Qiao Jin's back fiercely collided with something ice-cold. It stopped the two of them from tumbling down. Following Little Nine's presence, Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo quickly found the underground secret room in Treasure Pavilion. However, there was no one left in the secret room. Yiqing Luo looked at the fresh blood on the ground and the obvious poisonous gas in the air, her slender brows creased slightly. She stroked Little Nine, who had leapt into her arms, and looked towards Dmo Xian. Ah Xian, there's indeed Xiao Yi and Jin Zi's aura here, and the aura is rather faint. They should have left the secret room for at least one incense stick of time. The blood on the ground isn't theirs. Dmo Xian narrowed his long and narrow peach blossom eyes. They should have escaped, let's find them first. There was only one passageway leading to the secret chamber. They had just walked all the way from the tunnel to the secret room. No one was sighing. If Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi escaped from the secret chamber. In this situation where there was only one path, it was impossible to escape. There was only one answer. This was a passageway or a secret room. There were other exits. Or other secret passageways. Little Nine, have you remembered the smell of West Xianglan? Yiqing Luo lowered her head and looked at Little Nine, who was in her arms. Little Nine raised its head and its sharp fox mouth gave off a soft moan. Chapter 1811. Yiqing Luo's eyes shone. Little Nine, lead the way. Once we find Shishanglan, we will be able to find Jinzi and Xiaoyi. Little Nine leapt down from Yiqing Luo's arms. The two of them followed behind Little Nine and soon stopped at a wall in the passageway. Yiqing Luo held the luminous pearl in her hand, and her half-squinted eyes suddenly fixed on a certain spot on the wall. She leaned closer and her fingertips touched the wall. Jinzi's blood. Her expression sunk slightly. This blood was sticky. Apparently, it had just been printed not long ago. Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi should be nearby. Jin Zi is poisoned? Yiqing Luo was very sensitive towards poisonous gas, and very quickly she sniffed out the faint poisonous gas in the blood. Although it was very faint, but this smell had already automatically broken down in Yiqing Luo's mind through the 100 refining pill. Luckily she had foresight. When she was refining the pills, she had given each of them 100 refining pill. To be able to escape from the secret room and escape to the passageway. They should be fine for now. She must find them immediately. Suddenly Yiqing Luo's petite body suddenly stiffened as the expression on her face revealed a sliver of disbelief. What's the matter? Dmo Xian sensed Yiqing Luo's reaction. Yiqing Luo looked at the blood on her fingers. This poison is not Nirvana Realm's poison. The medicinal herb composition which was analyzed by the 100 refining pill could not possibly be wrong. The 100 refining pill clearly told her about it. This poison was known as the Parting Calamity pill. As the name suggested, after being tainted, within a short 1 hour, the life star would perish. This was an extremely vicious poison. And the medicinal herbs used to refine this poison could not be found in Nirvana Realm. At least, Yiqing Luo had never seen or heard of the medicinal herbs used to refine it. If it's not Nirvana Realm's poison, could it be? Dmo Xian's expression suddenly congealed. Do you know the name of the poison which Qiao Jin was inflicted with? Parting Calamity pill. Yiqing Luo replied, do you know the source of this poison? Parting Calamity pill? Dmo Xian repeated these 3 words as his gaze dimmed. Lil Luo, if my guess is right. This matter I'm afraid might be a little tricky. Some forces outside the Nirvana Realm have intervened in this matter? Yiqing Luo quickly came to a conclusion. As far as she knew, the Nirvana Realm was one of the lowest realms in this vast space. Except for the upper realm. There were also the various powers outside the 3 realms. For example, the dark forces. Compared to the Nirvana Realm, those forces were all outstanding existences. Apart from an underground organization, there were actually other forces that had extended their claws to the Nirvana Realm. Why does it feel like the current Nirvana Realm was becoming more and more chaotic? Remember, stay close. Dmo Xian suddenly stretched out his long arm and clasped Yiqing Luo's waist tightly. This sentence, remember it. Yes, I will definitely not leave you. Yiqing Luo hugged his waist. With a big Buddha like you around, even if other forces were to intervene, I'm not worried at all. Dmo Xian rubbed her head and pressed down hard as if he was threatening her. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and grabbed the mischievous hand on her head as she lightly patted the back of his hand. All right, now you know the seriousness of this matter, let's first find Jin Zi and Xiao Yi. Following that, she shot her gaze towards Little Nine. Little Nine, why aren't we moving? Little Nine squatted on the ground, and it, who had transformed into a small fox, swinging its 9 tails, looked extremely adorable. Chapter 1812. The smell stopped? Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian exchanged glances. It's impossible for the scent to stop midway unless he disappeared here. Yiqing Luo looked at the direction of the blood stains on the wall. Suddenly he exerted force and pushed against the wall. Kacha, a sound was heard. A hole suddenly appeared in the wall. There really is a secret passage. Yiqing Luo frowned. Dmo Xian's gaze swept across the dark passage. Follow me closely. He took the lead to enter the cave, and after ascertaining the safety inside, he stretched out his hand towards Yiqing Luo. Give me your hand. This man, he really took care of her meticulously. Stretching her hand into Dmo Xian's palm, she bent down and followed into the secret passage. Just as the tunnel was about to close up, a slender figure walked out from the darkness. The brown luxurious robe was warm and elegant. Wasn't it Shishanglan? Behind him was the skinny old man called Wuxia. Young master, they have already entered the soulless formation. Our plan will succeed soon. Wuxia's face was filled with joy as he congratulated Shishanglan sincerely. Shishanglan's smile did not diminish, it was still warm. Wuxia suddenly thought of something and a worried look appeared on his face. But Overlord followed him into the godless formation. I'm worried. With Overlord's strength he might. Impudent. Shishanglan's smile froze and he berated in a stern voice. He turned around and slapped Wuxia's face. That gentle face was covered with a layer of greed and malevolence. The godless array formation is the strongest array formation of our godless island. Even if the people from the upper realm came, they would not be able to break through the godless array formation. What does 1DMO Xian amount to? Wuxia lowered his head. His tiny eyes narrowed slightly, revealing a trace of sinister treachery. Shishanglan looked coldly in the direction of the secret tunnel and snorted. Now, we just have to wait for the prey to fall into the trap. Yes, young master. Wuxia answered obediently. The two of them slowly walked to the wall and gently pressed it. The entrance of the secret passage was wide open, and the two of them stepped into it one after the other. Yiqing Luo held DMO Xian's hand tightly as the luminous pearl illuminated everything in the secret passage clearly. The two of them walked extremely slowly on the steep slope. Yiqing Luo discovered Qiao Jin's blood stains on the ground once again. Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi indeed entered this secret passage. Just what kind of place was this treasure-gathering pavilion? It was an underground tunnel with a hidden passage. They walked all the way to the bottom of the slope. There was no other way out. Although it was said that there was no way out, it was actually not that there was no way out. In front of him he was blocked by a stone wall that could fit a person. The stone wall was covered with a layer of white light. The white light completely enveloped the stone wall. But when Yiqing Luo touched it, it was a real stone wall. What's going on? Yiqing Luo withdrew her hand and looked at DMO Xian in puzzlement. Qiao Jin's bloodstains also disappeared beside this stone wall. She was sure. Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi had entered this secret passage before. And now they didn't see Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi, which meant that there must be a path to head towards here. This stone wall which was emitting white light should be the key. DMO Xian narrowed his peach blossom eyes as he carefully sized up this stone wall. In his subconscious, he sensed an ominous premonition. This stone wall in front of him gave him an extremely uneasy feeling. But seeing Yiqing Luo's worry towards Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi. Chapter 1813. He was clearer than anyone else about Yiqing Luo's character. If he were to let Yiqing Luo leave now, or use forceful methods to bring her away, it would only attract a bigger backlash from Yiqing Luo. Although Yiqing Luo wouldn't get into a conflict with him because of his brother's matters. But to put her in a difficult position and make her sad. He couldn't do it. The girl he fell in love with was loyal and affectionate. It was absolutely not to protect his own life, but to give up the chance to save his brother. DMO Xian stretched out his hand and held Yiqing Luo's little hand tightly. His obsidian-like peach blossom eyes gazed deeply at Yiqing Luo's face. He lowered his head and his lips gently landed on her forehead. The scorching breath was a little heavy. She understood DMO Xian. Just like how DMO Xian understood her. Yiqing Luo could clearly feel the strong pressure emitted from DMO Xian. Her heart trembled slightly as a sense of uneasiness arose from the bottom of her heart. This place was very dangerous. DMO Xian had already sensed the danger here. To be able to make DMO Xian feel the danger and become serious. It was enough to prove that the hidden danger in this secret tunnel was beyond her imagination. Even DMO Xian felt the danger. Then wouldn't Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi be? Don't be afraid, I'm here. DMO Xian's gentle kiss gently rubbed against her disgust. His slender fingers clasped her little hand tightly. 10 fingers intertwined. His warm breath sprayed onto her face. He firmly and gently repeated, I will bring the three of you back safely. Yiqing Luo's heart trembled fiercely. Her slightly creased brows were smoothed by his gentle lips. His firm voice made her uneasy heart gradually calm down. She stretched out her hand and looped it around his firm waist. Her elegant voice was filled with emotions. Ah Xian, I know that this request is very capricious, but to give up on saving them and leave with you alone, I really can't do it. She buried her head into his arms. I've understood a logic since young. Living in this world, only oneself is the most reliable. No matter what, I'm used to relying on my own strength to achieve whatever goals I want to achieve, and have never thought of relying on anyone. She paused for a moment. Following that, she raised her head and fixed her gaze on DMO Xian. But ever since I met Ah Xian, I'm getting more and more used to relying on you. As long as you're around, I'm not afraid of anything and I'm full of confidence in everything. A warm smile appeared on her face. A bright smile bloomed at the corner of her mouth. Ah Xian, promise me. Not only will I, Xiaoyi and Jinzi be safe, you must be safe as well. The tenderness in the young lady's gaze made DMO Xian's heart flutter. He clasped Yiqing Luo's lower jaw as he lowered his head and kissed her pink lips. This kiss was gentle with a bit of roughness. deeply absorbing the sweetness in Yiqing Luo's mouth. This kiss, Yiqing Luo's hands tightly circled around his waist as her body turned soft. Diamo Xian released her lips and his breathing was heavy. The rest will go back and ask for it. She panted and with a weak and soft voice she softly spat out a word, all right. Diamo Xian held her tightly. After a while, when Yiqing Luo's consciousness recovered, Diamo Xian was about to release his profound qi to forcefully enter the stone wall which was enveloped in white light. Suddenly, a gentle laughter came from afar. Ha ha ha. Even at death's door you're still so affectionate, you're really worthy of being the overlord and the rumored heroine. When the voice entered her ears, Yiqing Luo's slightly blurred eyes suddenly became clear. Chapter 1814. Xishang Lan. When Yiqing Luo saw who it was, her gaze turned piercingly cold. Where are Jin Zi and Xiao Yi? Xishang Lan smiled warmly. Qing Luo, don't be so anxious. He was smiling. His smile was as gentle as usual. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk slightly. Xishang Lan, there are no outsiders here and no devil classes students, you don't need to put on an act in front of me. Xishang Lan's smile. It made Yiqing Luo's brows crease tightly. She hated Xishang Lan's smile. And hated Xishang Lan's smile. It was this gentle gentleman's mask, attracting the group of youths in devil class who were ignorant of the ways of the world. Deceiving the feelings of devil classes students. Yeah, I thought my disguise was flawless. Xishang Lan pretended to be surprised as his eyes were filled with a gentle smile. I've been wearing this mask for so long, I almost thought that I have such a character. Speaking of this, as long as I use this face, this mask, I can easily play those brothers of yours in the palm of my hand. He touched his own face as his smile became even gentler. This face is rather useful. Yiqing Luo's brows tightened. He didn't say this matter was good. The moment he said it, Yiqing Luo had the urge to beat him up. As though he sensed the change in Yiqing Luo's emotions. Xishang Lan's gentle smile deepened. Since Qing Luo had already seen through my disguise, based on Qing Luo's position in that bunch of fools' hearts, they should choose to believe you, isn't that so? These words were said in a weird tone filled with insolence. Apparently the meaning behind Xishang Lan's words. He was ridiculing Yiqing Luo that she wasn't as popular as she thought she was. He was ridiculing that even if she really told those youngsters in devil class about his suspicions, those people might not trust her. He was flaunting his position in the hearts of devil class's students. Even if she was Yiqing Luo, the mental pillar of devil class. Wasn't Yin Xiao Yi a living example? Yiqing Luo's brows turned slightly cold. Her eyes were filled with a vicious aura. She wasn't angry about what Xishang Lan said, devil classes students wouldn't trust her or something. It was the word fool that Xishang Lan said. Xishang Lan saw Yiqing Luo's expression turning gloomier and gloomier. An insolent smile that was completely different from the gentle jade-like smile appeared on his face. However, in the next instant, suddenly a slap landed on his face. Pa! The crisp sound of the slap was extremely loud in the quiet secret passage, and it even echoed in the air. A bright red palm print appeared on Xishang Lan's pale face. The burning pain caused Xishang Lan to open his mouth and curse loudly. Even his muscles were in extreme pain. How dare you! Wuxia finally reacted and leaped in front of Xishang Lan. But he discovered that Yiqing Luo had already returned to Diamo Xian's side. It was as if he hadn't moved at all. But Yiqing Luo's waving hand and her pitiful look towards Diamo Xian had exposed the fact that she had slapped Xishang Lan earlier. Ah Xian, he's so thick-skinned. My hand hurts. Diamo Xian held her little hand and gently caressed it. I helped you peel off his face. Yiqing Luo smiled brightly as she nodded her head vigorously. A crack appeared on Xishang Lan's gentle mask. Chapter 1815. Yiqing Luo curled her lips and smiled. No, I'm only warning you once. If you dare to verbally abuse my brother the next time, it won't be as simple as a slap. Xishang Lan grimaced in pain, blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. It could be seen how much strength Yiqing Luo had used in that slap earlier. He was right. Yiqing Luo had used her real strength. There was not the slightest bit of profound qi mixed in. This kind of slap was a bone-piercing pain. Don't get too full of yourself. The students of devil class are just too young and don't know how sinister the human heart is. But it doesn't mean that just because you treat them a little better they will repay you wholeheartedly. I won't tell them that my suspicion of you isn't because I'm afraid that they'll stand on your side, not trust me or have a conflict with me. But I'm just using you to tell those young kids in Devil class, what is called a human heart is unpredictable, what is called a human heart is sinister. Humans had to experience pain and fall once before they would learn from their mistakes. Moreover, people needed to experience some things for themselves to understand some principles. Since Shishanglan wanted to make use of the students of the Devil class, then Shishanglan would make use of him. Once Shishanglan's true colors were exposed, these students would understand that not everyone was trustworthy. Hearing Yiqing Luo's words, Shishanglan only felt that his pride had been ruthlessly trampled on. He had always thought that his plan was flawless. No one could see through his acting skills. He used his gentleness to surround those who trusted him wholeheartedly. Then he would make use of those idiots whom Yiqing Luo valued to deal with her. But when he realized that all his assumptions were just self-righteous, the pride in Shishanglan's heart was shattered. He clenched his fists, suppressing the anger surging in his chest. He knew Yiqing Luo's ability. He also knew how powerful Diamo Xian was. Appearing here was merely to see Yiqing Luo pleading bitterly because Qiao Jin and Yan Shaoyi were in his hands. But he had not expected that he was so infuriated by Yiqing Luo that he almost threw up blood. Shishanglan clenched his fist. He had always been good at scheming. He had always been able to calculate everything in an orderly manner. There was no way he would lose to a 15-year-old girl. Yiqing Luo, you have the time to bicker with me, but I think your two brothers probably don't have that much time to wait for you. Shishanglan raised his hand to wipe off the blood on the corner of his lips as he stared coldly at Yiqing Luo, sneering endlessly. As expected, Yiqing Luo's face sunk. Shishanglan, I don't care who you are or whether the force behind you is from outside the Nirvana realm. I only want to tell you one thing. Her eyes were filled with a piercingly cold light. If Shaoyi and Jinzi are heavily injured, I will uproot you and the power behind you. She enunciated each and every word clearly. The viciousness in her eyes was very obvious. That gaze caused Shishanglan's heart to contract. Not waiting for him to retaliate, Yiqing Luo's extremely cold voice was heard once again. Don't doubt whether I have that ability or not. I have a way to exterminate the dark forces. You Shishanglan. I can do the same. After finishing this sentence, Yiqing Luo no longer had the intention to tangle with Shishanglan. She didn't need to find out the whereabouts of Yan Shaoyi and Qiao Jin from Shishanglan. Diamo Xian smiled slightly, very unfamiliar and very surprised, but little Luo looks very happy. Yes, I'm very happy. Yiqing Luo's voice was trembling. She held Diamo Xian's hand tightly as her face was filled with joy. Ah Xian, do you know this is my hometown? I was born here and grew up here. Yiqing Luo didn't want to hide her real identity from Diamo Xian. Although to her she had completely treated herself as Nirvana Realm's Yiqing Luo. But when she stood in front of the familiar 21st century, she then realized that she was ultimately not that Nirvana Realm's Yiqing Luo. Diamo Xian laughed lightly as he stretched out his hand to pull her into his embrace. Your hometown, then you should bring me around. I want to see the place where Lil Luo grew up. His voice was extremely gentle. Yiqing Luo felt an indescribable strangeness. She wanted to raise her head to look at Diamo Xian's expression. Chapter 1817. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo whispered softly and wanted to raise her head. But the moment she moved, the palm on the back of her head exerted more force. The strange feeling in Yiqing Luo's heart continued to magnify. Just as Yiqing Luo wanted to resist Diamo Xian, above her head floated his mellow voice. Little Luo, this is the place where you grew up. I'm so excited. His voice was slightly trembling. The hand holding her body gradually tightened. The familiar sandalwood smell lingered in her nose. The strange feeling in Yiqing Luo's heart gradually dispersed. That was right. This place was an extremely unfamiliar place to the ancient Diamo Xian. And it was the place where she grew up. Diamo Xian's mood had such a huge change, which was a matter of course. But Yiqing Luo, who was buried in the man's arms, did not see it. The peerless man on top of her head had a gentle smile on his face, but it did not reach his eyes. That shimmering peach blossom eyes flashed with a horrifying cold glint. Faintly there was a bit of red glow. All of a sudden, 8 spider-like black tentacles extended from his body. The tentacles bared their fangs and brandished their claws towards the young lady in his arms. The red glow in his eyes became more and more dazzling. It made those peach blossom eyes look extremely demonic. The black tentacles seemed to want to imprison Yiqing Luo and send her body towards Dmo Xian's chest. At this moment, Dmo Xian's body was like melting mud, as Yiqing Luo in his arms slowly merged into his body. And the young lady nestled in Dmo Xian's arms. But she was totally unaware of all these. The 8 black tentacles, bit by bit, tried to enter Yiqing Luo's body. Just as the tentacles were 1 centimeter away from her back. Yiqing Luo's body, suddenly a ray of red glow appeared. The tentacles were fiercely bounced back. Dmo Xian's body swayed slightly as his body became tense. Ah Xian, what's the matter? Yiqing Luo didn't know what happened. She didn't notice the change in this Dmo Xian. She only suddenly sensed that Dmo Xian's body was slightly stiff. Dmo Xian's eyes were filled with malevolence as he glared fiercely at the young lady in his arms. When the girl broke free from his grip and forcibly raised her head, she suddenly felt a chill run down her spine. Dmo Xian's reddened eyes swiftly reverted back to the pitch-black obsidian color. The 8 feelers also retracted in an instant. Ah Xian, are you not used to this place? Yiqing Luo raised her hand, wanting to caress Dmo Xian's face. There was a lot of sweat on his forehead. Dmo Xian hurriedly avoided her hand and released her delicate body. No, nothing, Lil Luo. First bring me to the place where you used to stay to take a look. Yiqing Luo's hand froze in midair, slightly stunned. Ah Xian would never avoid her touch. Little Luo, Seeing that she was standing at the same spot, not moving for a long time. Dmo Xian stood in front of Yiqing Luo, raised his hand and grabbed her wrist. Under his tugging, Yiqing Luo took a few steps forward. Her gaze fell on the hand on her wrist. Warm palms, slender fingers. Very familiar, it was the big palm in her memory. But Yiqing Luo faintly sensed something strange. But the source of this strange feeling she had no way of knowing. The person in front of her shouldn't be the fake Dmo Xian, right? Chapter 18:18. No, that's not right. From the moment they passed through the stone wall that was flickering with white light, Dmo Xian was worried that they would be separated. He intertwined his fingers and held her tightly in his hands. Until the 21st century, their hands had never parted. She was very confident in her perception. If this Dmo Xian was a fake, she must be able to sense it. But the person in front of him, whether it was his appearance or the aura he emitted, was very familiar. Dmo Xian. How could he be a fake? His heart was in a mess. Dong? Yiqing Luo's face crashed heavily onto the man's hard chest. She covered her nose in pain and looked up at him. Dmo Xian had unknowingly stopped his footsteps. He slightly furrowed his brows and looked at her face with a slightly heavy gaze. His tone was somewhat steady. Lil Luo, do you not wish for me to know about your past life? Yiqing Luo's hand that was covering her nose paused. Her eyes met his. There was a faint suspicion in his heart. When she met his gaze, she inexplicably wanted to believe him. How could that be? Yiqing Luo stabilized her state of mind as she smiled. All along, I've wanted to bring you to the place where I used to live, but I've never had the chance. Dmo Xian's peach blossom eyes rippled. The ripples were like a huge net that could capture one's soul. Layers upon layers enveloping Yiqing Luo's heart. But your expression tells me that you don't want me to appear here. His slender fingers gently caressed Yiqing Luo's forehead. A warm touch brushed across the skin of her face. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled slightly as she shrunk back unnaturally, avoiding his fingertips' touch. I didn't. Dmo Xian sighed softly. Lil Luo, you know that I can't bear to make things difficult for you. If you're unwilling, I won't force you. No, it's not like that. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes, not knowing how to express her feelings at this moment. How was she going to tell Dmo Xian that she had just suspected that he was a fake Dmo Xian? Under the current situation, Dmo Xian was obviously a little angry. If she mentioned her suspicions about him again, wouldn't that be adding fuel to the fire? Seeing Yiqing Luo lowering her head, Dmo Xian's glistening pupils gradually turned gloomy. Inside its body, those 8 black tentacles were stirring, trying to entangle Yiqing Luo tightly. Dmo Xian restrained his agitation and maintained his calm tone. All right, I'll stop teasing you. It's rare to see Lil Luo's hometown, let's take a look around first. The girl in his arms suddenly stiffened. After that, the young girl raised her head. Xian, do you know where this place is? Diamo Xian smiled faintly. Little Luo Er's hometown. Yiqing Luo nodded. Then do you still remember why we returned to my hometown from Nirvana realm? The gentle smile on Diamo Xian's face froze. Of course I remember you don't know, or have you forgotten? Hearing Diamo Xian hemming and hawing, Yiqing Luo's lips suddenly curled upwards, revealing a sly smile. Immediately after, Diamo Xian felt his arms lightened, and the warmth attached to his chest dissipated at this moment. The young girl in his arms unknowingly broke free from the restraint of his arms. Chapter 18-19. Diamo Xian looked at Yiqing Luo and nodded with a smile. Speaking of this, even I'm seeing Lil Luo Er's hometown for the first time. His gaze swept across the busy streets, as well as the shops on both sides of the road that shone with all kinds of strange lights. The people walking back and forth on the sidewalk were dressed in appalling clothes. Even I was shocked. Xiao Yi and Jin Zi might not be able to adapt to it either. Diamo Xian said as he took a step closer to Yiqing Luo. Lil Luo, let's go look for the both of them first. Yiqing Luo smiled, but I don't want to go look for them with you now. Diamo Xian halted his approaching footsteps. Isn't it faster to split up? Yiqing Luo added another sentence while beaming. The restless Diamo Xian was just about to unleash his aura, but like a punctured balloon, it instantly died down. Lil Luo, I'm worried about you. Diamo Xian took another step towards Yiqing Luo. Although this is your hometown, but it is after all not in the Nirvana realm, it's too dangerous here. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up delicately. Her body was as light as a butterfly as she suddenly took a few steps back. With a flash, he leaped onto a nearby bridge. She supported herself with one hand on the modern stone bridge as she smiled and waved at Diamo Xian. Xian, don't worry, I'm more familiar with my hometown than anyone else. Let's go look for Jin Zi and Xiao Yi first, and after we've found them, we'll meet up here. The moment he turned around, the smile on Yiqing Luo's face suddenly disappeared. What replaced it was a solemn and dignified atmosphere. That person was not Diamo Xian. Although Yiqing Luo was unable to explain why she and Diamo Xian had stepped into that white light stone wall together, with their fingers intertwined, he could even replace Diamo Xian without anyone knowing. But Yiqing Luo was completely certain now. That person was absolutely not Diamo Xian. If it was Diamo Xian, he wouldn't have repeatedly requested for her to bring him around, or bring him to the place where she used to stay, and such requests. Once, twice. She only thought that Diamo Xian cared about her too much. But 3 times, 4 times. Furthermore, he made such a request when Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi's life and death were still unknown. It couldn't help but make Yiqing Luo suspicious. Because Diamo Xian knew how much she valued and cared for her brother. Why would she delay her search for Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi just to see the place where she had grown up? She knew that person was not Diamo Xian. But it was impossible to guess what motive he had for pretending to be Diamo Xian. She also did not know the other party's identity. Under such circumstances, she could not forcefully expose that he was not Diamo Xian. Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi were waiting for her rescue. Her Xian must be looking for her everywhere. She had to find them immediately. She had just crossed the bridge and entered a high-class shopping mall when Yiqing Luo discovered another strange thing. Previously, when she and Diamo Xian were standing in the middle of the road, there were people coming and going all around, the traffic was heavy. She even leaped onto the bridge. It didn't attract anyone's attention. Obviously, the people here could not see her and Diamo Xian. But, when she rushed into the shopping mall, she could clearly feel the gazes of the people who were shopping on the street. There were also people pointing at her and whispering about something. Yiqing Luo's hearing was sharp, even if she wasn't listening carefully. Chapter 18-20. Who's that beauty? Why is she wearing an ancient costume? Could it be a big star filming a movie? She's so beautiful, she must be a big star. Let's go take a look and find out what movie the big star is filming. This ancient costume suits her too well. Just based on this face, I will definitely chase after her till the end. After a while, Yiqing Luo's back was already surrounded by a large group of people. Looking at the modern clothes in front of her, Yiqing Luo had a feeling that it was a lifetime ago. Until she was surrounded by a group of people. Yiqing Luo reacted. She wanted to escape, but she was surrounded by those people. So many people were staring at her. If she used her light body technique to escape, in less than half a day she would probably be treated as a monster. She might even be caught and dissected. What was going on? Wasn't this world an illusion created by Xishanglan? Even DMO Xian was fake. Wasn't everything here fake as well? Why, she felt that it was so real. She almost thought that she had passed through the white stone wall and traveled back to the 21st century. She couldn't judge the authenticity of everything in front of her. Yiqing Luo didn't dare to act rashly. "Lass, can you hear my voice?" Suddenly, a voice emerged in Yiqing Luo's mind. Yiqing Luo was pushed by the crowd and her eyes suddenly lit up. Old Man Tsang. In this place, the connection between Old Man Tsang and her had not disappeared. "Phew. I finally got in touch with you." Old Man Tsang took a deep breath. "Finally, what do you mean?" Old Man Tsang activated the vision function in the Azure Dew bracelet. Seeing the current situation, he said, "Find a quiet place first and listen to me." Yiqing Luo was surrounded by a group of people until she couldn't breathe. Originally those people chased her to ask if she was a star and what movie she was filming. Yiqing Luo only shook her head in denial. This time she simply admitted that she was a star. Then she used the excuse of rushing to the set to film. As for what movie it was, she would find out after a few months. Finally she escaped from those people. Yiqing Luo expressed that she was indeed not suitable to get along with the modern people. In the Nirvana realm, no matter how much the commoners liked someone, they would reservedly stand at a distance and watch silently. Yiqing Luo had not discovered it. While she was trying to get away and find a quiet place, not far away from the shopping mall, a strange person covered in black sportswear with a hood covering his entire face stopped in his tracks. The strange man raised his head. Even the hood revealed a pair of sinister and crimson eyes. His scarlet pupils reflected the image of a red-clothed girl in an ancient costume who had left in a hurry. His pupils constricted slightly. That was Yiqing Luo? How could she appear here? The strange man's crimson eyes were filled with astonishment. Just as the freak was about to catch up and confirm the girl's identity, the red-clothed girl was nowhere to be seen. The strange man staggered a few steps back, his body trembling slightly. After thinking for a while, he turned around and quickly walked out of the mall. Yiqing Luo finally found the toilet in the mall and squeezed into one in the corner. She wiped the sweat on her forehead. "Old Man Tsang, is this the real world or an illusion created by Xishanglan based on the world in my memory?" Star. Chapter 1821. Old Tsang's spirit body emerged from the Azure Dew bracelet. White mist curled up, making his spirit body look extremely illusory. "This isn't the Nirvana realm. If someone were to see you like this, they might think that you're haunted. I might as well enter the Azure Dew bracelet and talk to you." Something that could make Old Man Tsang appear and talk to her must be very serious. "No one else can see me." Old Man Tsang's spirit body floated one round above Yiqing Luo's head. "This plane is too dangerous, you must maintain your consciousness." "Danger? You mean this is not Nirvana realm but another plane?" Yiqing Luo knitted her brows. "From the moment you stepped into the soulless array formation, you entered another plane." Old Man Tsang's voice was deep and solemn. "Godless array formation?" These four words gave Yiqing Luo an ominous premonition for no reason. "Yes, godless array." Old Man Tsang looked at Yiqing Luo. "Do you still remember that time, the three evils who wanted to snatch the profound phoenix ring? Those guys from the Godless Island?" Of course Yiqing Luo still remembered that group of fellows who had snatched her profound phoenix ring out of nowhere and disappeared mysteriously, never to be heard of Godless Island again. "That's right, it's the Godless Island." Old Man Tsang's white eyebrows tightly knitted together. "The poison that you used 100-pill refinements to analyze is also an extreme poison from Godless Island." Godless Island? Meddling with forces outside the Nirvana realm? If I am not wrong, Xishanglan should be from Godless Island. Moreover, he is the son of the island master of Godless Island. Old Man Tsang's words made Yiqing Luo's eyes sink. Her eyes were filled with astonishment and disbelief. How could the Shi clan of the West Continent and Godless Island? Speaking of this, Yiqing Luo's words suddenly came to a halt. The Shi family indeed had nothing to do with Godless Island. But that didn't mean Xishanglan didn't have one. Xishanglan. She had always suspected Xishanglan's true identity. The current Xishanglan was most likely no longer the gentle Xishanglan from before. He was replaced by the so-called son of the island master of Godless Island. His motive was to get close to Yan Xiaoyi. No, more accurately, it was to get close to Yiqing Luo. Xishang Lan's target was Yiqing Luo. Previously Yiqing Luo had this conjecture. Unexpectedly, Xishang Lan was really not Xishang Lan. Thinking of the Godless Island's interest in her profound phoenix ring, Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased tightly. Then what is the godless array that you mentioned? The forbidden formation of Godless Island. Old Man Song's voice suddenly became deep and heavy. Forbidden array formation? He dares to use a forbidden formation in the Nirvana realm. Aren't you afraid of attracting the people from the upper realm to maintain the balance in the Nirvana realm and make a move on Godless Island? Yiqing Luo cried out in surprise. In order to deal with her, he even took out a taboo array formation? Should she feel honored? Once the soulless formation is set up, as its name implies, even gods will be unable to escape once they enter the formation. Old Man Song sighed softly. So, not to mention Xiao Jin and Xiao Yi, those two fellows, if they enter the soulless formation, just the overlord lad, I'm afraid he will be trapped here. The beauty of the soulless formation is that it targets a person's inner heart, which is an array that attacks one's heart. It has thousands of changes and it's an instantaneous change. Perhaps in the previous instance, you need to use your intellect to break the array. In the next instance, you need to use your strength to break the array. Chapter 1822. Then, the reason why I appeared in the era I grew up in, is because I still have some thoughts about this era? If it all changed according to the changes in the heart. That was the 21st century she was in now. What was there that could attack her heart? And the most important point, I haven't told you. Old Man Song fixed his eyes on Yiqing Luo, his eyes solemn. The godless array is not the illusion you think it is. Not an illusion? Yiqing Luo stood up and stepped on the toilet lid. You said this is the real world? Damn. She had really returned to the 21st century? You can say that. Old Man Song nodded seriously. In this vast world, there are all kinds of big and small planes, and each plane has its own independent living space. The era you are talking about is also one of the planes in the Kangmang continent. As for why you entered this plane after the godless array, I have no way of knowing the answer. Old Man Song's spirit body flew one round around Yiqing Luo's head. Luo girl, as smart as you are, you should have long noticed the secret you are hiding. Yiqing Luo's foot on the toilet gradually retracted. Yes, she did notice something. After all, anyone who found out that they had the one and only divine phoenix profound heart jade in this world, that even the divine realm was envious of and coveted, and that they had extremely strong cultivation talent, they would have doubts about their own physique. Especially when she obviously had an excellent physique. But her bones were changed and she became a waste without any cultivation talent. Yiqing Luo increasingly felt that she was not simple. Although in the beginning she used her identity as the young matriarch of the Three Springs sect as an excuse. But she still couldn't convince herself. The Three Springs sect was rumored to be the guards of the God Realm Emperor, stationed in the West Continent, guarding the tomb of the God Realm Emperor. And as the successor of the Three Springs sect, the descendant of the God Realm Emperor's guard, it wasn't unreasonable for him to have exceptional talent. But, after seeing such a scumbag father, Yiqing Luo was unable to link her own innate talent and Three Springs sect together. Unless she had inherited her mother's talent. But, her memories of her mother were too old. So old that she couldn't recall it. She really couldn't conclude. The fact that you've come to this plane may have been preordained. Old Man Song took a deep look at Yiqing Luo. This plane is very dangerous for you. This is a real plane, a real world. Once you get lost in this world, you will be assimilated into this plane and finally be completely swallowed by the godless array. This was the terrifying part of the soulless formation. Unknowingly he was devoured. Even when they died, they might not even know how they died. Just like just now. Chapter 1823. Speaking of DMO Xian, Yiqing Luo was rather worried. Xian and I entered the godless array together, but the Xian I met earlier was fake. So, would DMO Xian have met the faker? That DMO Xian was so real. If it wasn't for Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi, she really could not detect DMO Xian's abnormality at all. DMO Xian met the faker. Can you recognize it? That's the devouring formation eye of the soulless formation. Old Man Song explained, "The devouring formations I can target everyone's heart and transform into the person you value the most in your heart, or the person closest to you in order to gain your trust. When your body and mind are at their most relaxed and you trust it wholeheartedly, it will fuse you into its body and become one with it." Fuse into one? Yiqing Luo felt a chill down her spine. "You? Is what you said true?" That was when she was with that DMO Xian. He really trusted that DMO Xian wholeheartedly. However, she didn't seem to feel like she was being devoured. "You have the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade to protect you. The devouring array I can't touch you for now." Old Man Song's body was becoming more and more transparent. "You'd better not be alone with the devouring formation eye. The most important thing you have to do now is find that Dizun boy. As for what we're going to do next, we'll make other plans." Old Man Song, your body? Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly congealed as she reached out to touch Old Man Song. But when he touched it, there was only a white mist. Old Man Song's figure completely disappeared before his eyes. "I'm fine." In his mind, Old Man Song's slightly tired voice sounded. "This plane has suppressed my mental strength too much. In order to get in touch with you, I've used up too much of my mental strength, causing me to be unable to maintain my spiritual form." Yiqing Luo heard what he said, and from his tone, he was indeed too exhausted, so she heaved a sigh of relief. "I need to sleep for a while. During this time you should go and look for Dizun." With that, the connection between her and Old Man Song was cut off once again. He called out to Old Man Song a few times, but there was no response, as if he had sunk into the sea. From the looks of it, before Old Man Song woke up, she had no way of contacting Old Man Song. Suddenly she thought of something. He immediately used his soul sense to contact the pet space. Sure enough, it was as Old Man Song said. In this plane, her spiritual power was also suppressed too much. The connection with the pet space was very weak. But it was better than not sensing anything at all. Yiqing Luo sighed silently. The most important thing right now was to find Ah Xian. With Ah Xian around, she believed in him. Regardless of whether it was a divine array formation or a divine array formation, there would definitely be a solution. Yiqing Luo's fingertips gently caressed the profound phoenix ring. He wondered if the Netherworld Phoenix Ring and the Netherworld Dragon Ring could still sense each other in this plane. She had better leave the washroom first before doing anything else. Yiqing Luo opened the tightly shut toilet door. Outside the washroom, there were 3 or 4 women with strange expressions. When they saw Yiqing Luo walking out from the toilet, the few of them exchanged glances and pointed at her. They seemed to be trying to guess her identity. This feeling was exactly the same as when she was surrounded by a group of star chasers in the mall. Motherf asterisk her. She didn't know if she should say it or not. Chapter 1824. Yiqing Luo awkwardly coughed a few times and immediately bowed to them in embarrassment. "Sorry to disturb you, I was reciting the script and was too engrossed in reciting that I forgot the occasion." The surrounding women saw Yiqing Luo dressed in a red ancient costume. They believed her when she said she was reciting the script. Yiqing Luo secretly wiped off her cold sweat, apologized a few more times and hurriedly rushed out of the washroom. She should be glad that she was attracted by Old Man Song's words. She forgot to change into a set of clothes that belonged to this plane. And the others couldn't see or hear Old Man Song's words. From the beginning to the end, they only heard her muttering to herself. This gave her an excuse to not be treated as a lunatic by others. Yiqing Luo cursed in her heart. What kind of bullshit array was this? It was actually a real plane. She didn't know what year it was in this plane. In this era of advanced information on the internet, Yiqing Luo absolutely believed that her photos would be spread all over the internet. It was not that she was narcissistic, but today's society was like this. If this news were to spread, would those old fellows from the Yi family who were still alive and her enemies be surprised when they saw her? After leaving the washroom, Yiqing Luo put this matter to the back of her mind. She raised her hand and looked at the profound phoenix ring on her fingertip. Right now, she had to find a way to gather her mental power as soon as possible. As long as she could sense the location of the profound dragon ring, it would be enough. At the same time, in the luxurious villa, a strange man in black sportswear with a hood rushed into the villa. "Master." The 2 burly men in bodyguard uniforms who were guarding the door suddenly knelt on the ground. Their kneeling posture was extremely standard. The strange man walked in quickly. When the door of the villa was closed, that strange man who was still walking quickly suddenly stretched his body and flipped over to the 2nd floor. In the air, A faint profound energy was faintly discernible. The strange man walked quickly into the study on the second floor. This study was decorated exactly the same as the ancient furnishings. The strange man walked to a mahogany square table, flipped his palm and slammed it on the table, only to hear a loud paw sound. The square table was separated from the middle. Then a foldable screen slowly rose. The strange man placed his palm on the screen. A powerful and majestic profound energy shot out from his palm. Soon the entire screen was enveloped by the mystic light. The next moment, a bone-chilling voice came from the screen. "What's the matter, Netherworld?" The strange person called Netherworld raised his head and stared fixedly at the black-robed man on the screen. His crimson eyes looked like they were dyed with blood. "I have something to discuss with the Venerable One." "The Venerable is not free." The cold voice refused without hesitation. "Yuan." Netherworld was sullen. "I have a message that I must personally tell the Venerable One. Can you bear the responsibility for delaying the Venerable One's plan?" Yuhan snorted disdainfully. Before Yuming could speak again, a gentle female voice came from the screen. "All right, Yuhan. It's rare for Yuming to contact us. Why make things difficult for him?" A petite black-robed person appeared on the screen. "You knew." Netherworld's crimson eyes flickered when he saw the person and his voice became gentler. "Is the Venerable One not around?" "The Venerable One has gone to Godless Island to discuss something with the Lord of Godless Island. He is not in the palace for the time being." Yunu smiled gently. Netherworld was slightly stunned. He pursed his lips and looked at Yunu. "Yunu, then please tell the Venerable One personally that I found Yiqing Luo in the 21st century. Star." Chapter 1825. Yu Luo's evil eyes lit up slightly. Her bright red nails scratched her pink lips as her lips curled into a sinister smile. Oh, she really entered the soulless array. Yu Ming was slightly stunned when he heard that. Soulless array? What's the point of talking so much to him? Yu Luo scoffed. An exiled lowly slave, what rights does she have to know about the Venerable's plan? The dark girl glared at Yu Han coquettishly, then looked at the Lord of the Netherworld with a smile. "I will tell the Venerable One about this. You go to that plane and help the Venerable One find what he needs. I will plead for you so that the Venerable One can bring you back as soon as possible." Yu Ming's other hand, which was hanging by his side, clenched tightly into a fist shape. His crimson eyes were filled with coldness. After some time he fixed his gaze on Yu Luo on the screen. "Yiqing Luo appearing in this plane, is it the Venerable's intention?" "Of course." Yu Luo chuckled. "Everything is in the Venerable's control. As for the reason why Yiqing Luo appeared in that plane, don't ask too much." Yu Ming's eyes dimmed as he responded in a low voice, "Yes." Without waiting for Yu Luo to speak again, Yu Luo had already raised her hand and cut off the connection between them. Seeing the screen, which was wrapped in the profound glow, gradually turning into an ordinary screen, Yu Luo's face disappeared from the screen. Yu Ming's hand slowly slid down from the screen. Yiqing Luo appearing here, it was the Venerable's intention. He came to this plane because of the Venerable's intention. That was Yiqing Luo's appearance. Did it mean that the Venerable was getting impatient? The Venerable wanted Yiqing Luo to find that thing herself? Once again he had become an abandoned chess piece, hadn't he? Feng Ling was here. She would definitely be able to recognize. The black-robed person who was called Yu Luo was the one who looked delicate but was actually gloomy in the dark sacred region. At the same time, in the 21st century plane, not far from the wealthy district in the Century Garden, Yiqing Luo, who was closing her eyes and gathering her mental power in an attempt to get in touch with Dmo Xian through the profound phoenix ring, suddenly opened her eyes. In her charming eyes, there was a faint look of astonishment. She seemed to have sensed the fluctuation of profound qi. How could there be anyone in this plane who possessed profound energy? But this fluctuation of profound energy she would not sense wrongly. In his mind, he suddenly recalled what Old Man Song's spirit body had said before it disappeared. In this plane, there was someone even more powerful than her. Was he referring to profound practitioners who cultivated profound energy like her? This was a plane that truly existed. How could it be possible that a profound practitioner would appear? Yiqing Luo vigilantly looked towards the direction of the profound qi fluctuation. That was the direction of the wealthy district. Someone who could buy a villa in the wealthy district. In this plane of the 21st century, the rich were the noble. This meant that that profounder had been on this plane for a very long time. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes and was about to follow the profound qi fluctuations to find that cultivator. Suddenly, the fluctuation of profound qi was cut off. She stopped in her tracks. Squinting her eyes, she sensed carefully. However, no matter how hard she tried, she could not sense any fluctuation of profound qi. It was as if what she had sensed just now was nothing more than an illusion. But Yiqing Luo was clear. That was definitely not an illusion. He chose to gather his spiritual energy in the Century Garden in the wealthy district. It was precisely because she had taken a fancy to the heaven and earth spiritual energy in this garden. And over at the wealthy district, there was profound qi fluctuations. That was enough to prove that that person had taken a fancy to the heaven and earth spiritual energy here. Yiqing Luo wanted to find that cultivator. It would be best if she could find out from that person how to absorb the heaven and earth spiritual energy and gather her spiritual energy and consciousness. But she did not dare to act rashly. She knew nothing about the other party's identity. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.